Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Arizona.
D-Backs Spring Training Baseball brought to you by White Claw Hard Seltzer, the purest hard seltzer in the world. D-Backs Baseball is back. We are at Salt River Fields at Talking Stick in Scottsdale, our first broadcast of the spring. It's the D-Backs and the Cubs on Fox Sports Arizona. And good afternoon from Scottsdale. Welcome to the broadcast. Steve Berthiaume, Bob Brenly along the way. Our first telecast this spring, first of 5 Fox Sports Arizona produced games for you. 11 in total before opening day coming up later this month at Dodger Stadium. Bob, today it's the Cubs. Robbie Ray on the mound for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, Robbie Ray has made steps in his career. We've watched him progress as a major league starting pitcher, and now it's time for Robbie to be more consistent. We've seen him really, really good at times, dominating at times, and other times hits a little bit of a speed bump. But I think it's time for Robbie to make that next step and become a very reliable starting pitcher.
His first start Sunday against Cleveland at Goodyear, 1 1/3, gave up a hit, walked 2, struck out 2. D-Backs and Cubs, first pitch coming up on Fox Sports Arizona. D-Backs Baseball on Fox Sports Arizona is brought to you by Chaz Roberts, Air Conditioning and Plumbing. Choose Chaz. By Subaru. Visit your local Subaru retailer to learn more about the Subaru Forester, versatility that inspires. By BJ's Restaurants. Visit bjsrestaurants.com to find a location near you. By Vienna Beef. Chicago's best tasting hot dog is available here in Arizona. And by Gila River Hotels and Casino. With the card by Gila River, you can play your way, so you do you. Is brought to you by Sanderson Ford. The best play is at Sanderson Ford. By Taco Bell. By Tire Pros of Arizona, hassle-free guarantee. By White Claw Hard Seltzer, the purest hard seltzer in the world. And by AutoNation, saving on every one-price pre-owned vehicle. Shop now at AutoNation.com. Well, March is here. Opening day comes up on the 28th at Dodger Stadium. Look out for those Clydesdales. David Peralta and the D-Backs set to take on the Cubs. First pitch next on Fox Sports Arizona. No, still on the mountaintops here in the Valley of the Sun, where it is a beautiful day, 74 degrees. It's D-Backs Baseball brought to you by Chaz Roberts, Air Conditioning and Plumbing. Steve Berthiaume. Bob Brenly along the way as the D-Backs continue their 22nd Cactus League season. They're 9th here at Salt River Fields at Talking Stick in baseball's best spring training facility. They're up against the Cubs today. And here's the Chicago batting order, Bob. It's brought to you by your Valley Chevy dealers.
A couple of familiar names in that Cubs lineup. Ian Happ leading it off, playing second base. David Bodie will be down at third base. Kyle Schwarber serving as the DH today. Victor Caratini battling for that backup catcher's job will hit fourth. Addison Russell at shortstop. Jim Adducci at first base. Mark Zagunis out in right field. Johnny Field will be playing left field. That's appropriate. And former D-back Evan Marzilli playing center field. Jose Quintana on the mound for the Cubs today.
Yeah, Joe Madden brought a bit of a thin lineup over from Sloan Park in Mesa. No Chris Bryant, no Anthony Rizzo, no Javier Baez today. The Cubs are 4-3 in Cactus League play. D-backs just beat Chicago the other day over at Sloan Park. That was the game that Zach Godley started. A lot of offense this spring for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, Zach Godley had a rough day that day, but that's what spring training is all about. Everybody has some things they want to work on, some mistakes they want to correct, some strengths that they want to strengthen even more, and Zach had a rough one first time out.
Well, today it's Robbie Ray's second Cactus League start. The left-hander out there for the Diamondbacks, coming off a season in which he was able to make only 24 starts. He missed 2 months with that oblique strain.
That's after a 2017 season when he went 15-5 and had an ERA under 3 that season. He As I said in the open of the show, everything is there for Robbie to become a top of the rotation stalwart for the Diamondbacks for a long time. We'd just like to see a little more consistency out of the left-hander.
A very representative lineup for the Diamondbacks tonight. Here's how they line up defensively. That's brought to you by E.D. Marshall Jewelers. Gives us a look around the diamond.
David Peralta out in left field. Ketel Marte moving out to center. That's been an ongoing process this spring, teaching him a new position. Socrates Brito will be over in right field. Diamondbacks infield will be Eduardo Escobar at third. Nick Ahmed at short. Wilmer Flores, the new Diamondback, at second base. Jake Lamb at a new position at first base. Alex Avila will be doing the catching for lefty Robbie Ray.
Zoe Lovello just got a contract extension. Very pleased with the way his team has progressed this spring. As usual with Torrey and this whole organization, it's been a very upbeat, positive sort of frame of mind here this spring.
I think it has to be in every camp. We just had the Diamondbacks Fan Fest about a week or so ago, and I was talking to some people about the 04 season, which obviously turned out to be a very miserable season, got some people fired. But in spring training of 04, there was optimism. We looked around, we looked at our lineup, we looked at our projected rotation, and we felt like we could compete in the division. Unfortunately, we didn't come close, but at this time of year, everybody has optimism.
D-backs coming off an 82-80 season last year, third in the National League West. Alfonso Marquez, our plate umpire today, calling the balls and strikes. Mike Winters at first base, Mark Rippiger at second, and Ryan Blakeney is the third base umpire. The umpires on the bases will rotate inning to inning as they see fit. Ian Happ, the second baseman, leads it off, and we're set to go. A perfect Friday afternoon in Scottsdale, the Diamondbacks and the Cubs. Robbie Ray grunting already with the first pitch. A fastball was fouled straight back. Happ looking for his first hit this spring. He's 0 for 8 coming off a .233 year last season.
But one thing you see a lot of, especially early in spring training, hunting fastballs. A lot of these pitchers haven't refined their breaking pitches or their off-speed deliveries quite yet. Everybody's sitting on fastball in the early parts of the Cactus League.
And Merrill Kelly got ambushed here yesterday, the first batter of the game against Cleveland, as Happ is retired, one down for Chicago. Nick Ahmed out there today.
And most guys carry that fastball hunting right into the regular season. But at this time of year, it's not cheating, but certainly it's taking advantage of a situation where pitchers aren't quite as sharp as they will be come opening day or the regular season.
Third baseman today, David Bodie, who was beamed in the head by Madison Bumgarner earlier this spring. No concussion symptoms, thank goodness, so he's been back the last couple of days. He said Mad Bum actually texted and called to apologize after hitting Bodie in the head.
Well, I'd rather get hit by Madison Bumgarner in 2019 than 5 or 6 years ago when he really threw hard.
They're going to be leaning on him heavily with that Giants ball club in what will be Bruce Bochy's final season. The Giants skipper will retire after this year. Robbie pleased with his mechanics when spring training opened for him. As we mentioned, faced the Indians Sunday at Goodyear, his first Cactus League start. A couple of walks in that first inning, but Robbie got out of a bases loaded jam. Fastball misses up and in. So he had to come out early in the second inning Sunday after throwing 29 pitches. They'd like today to see Robbie touch the third inning and get somewhere around about 40 pitches or so.
Well, his grunt is in midseason form,
isn't it?
I think in his first side session in the spring, he had the grunt in shape and ready to go. Oh, Alex Avila takes a backswing on the side of that hockey-style mask.
Robbie felt Sunday at Goodyear, the curveball and slider were really good. Fastball command was a little off, but that's to be expected perhaps at this point. 2 balls and 2 strikes on David Bodie, the third baseman. And one misses in it. It's full 3-2. Kyle Schwarber, the DH today, on deck.
You mentioned Bruce Bochy retiring at the end of the season. I'm going to miss Boch. He's like one of the last old school crusty managers, sitting around his office 5 hours before the game and 5 hours after the game talking baseball.
This is lifted high in the air toward the Diamondback bullpen in the left field corner and out of play. Well, you'll miss doing the imitation.
Well, I don't know about that.
Here's a look.
Gets him again on the backswing. Not quite as hard that time. Just a little love tap on the side of the helmet.
Vila, they called him in Detroit the titanium catcher because he was always taking a beating, it seemed, and bouncing back. And he's right back at it here today. One more time on 3-2 to Bodie. Missed with a fastball, a 1-out walk.
Well, you see Alex Avila getting clanked a couple times in that David Bodie at bat. I remember when the Walt Riniak style of hitting was very popular. The hitting coach for the Chicago White Sox, kind of a Charlie Loud disciple, and everybody would take the top hand off the bat, a long flourish of a finish, and catchers were just getting clubbed to death when they caught behind a Walt Riniak coach team.
The helicopter finish.
Yeah.
Rich Gedman, circa '86 Red Sox, would be waving that thing around.
You had to sneak back an extra 6 or 8 inches to make sure you didn't get hit by that bat.
3 defenders on the right side of the infield against the left-hand hitting DH Kyle Schwarber. Big year last year for Chicago, 26 homers. He has become a much improved defensive outfielder. He's a converted catcher. And they're very pleased with the way he's taken to getting himself in shape. He's a little lighter, a little leaner, more agile out there. And he had a pretty good year defensively in the outfield. This is an interesting look, Bob, in talking about Wilmer Flores at second baseman. He's out there right now, and when the Diamondbacks signed Flores from the Mets as a free agent to play second base, the consensus was, well, he's not that great a defender. The range isn't what it might be, but the Diamondbacks play so many overshifts that defense at second base, it's not irrelevant, but it's certainly not as important as it used to be. Good cut there, and it's 1-2.
I was talking to Len Casper on the Cubs side about that today, and Ben Zobrist playing second base for the Cubs quite often, and they feel the same way about him. They can kind of hide him in those shifts, move some of the other guys around, and maybe protect areas where he's not quite as good defensively. But with all the shifts, I think maybe we're going to see a swing back to offensive second baseman rather than guys that are leather first.
That's a great shot from our director, Brian Moss. You can see with the shift on, and Ahmed, the shortstop on the first base side of second. Flores at second in the middle there does not have to cover all that much ground. He's off a 1-2 pitch, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Talking about defense, the Diamondbacks picked up right where they left off last season. Only 4 errors this spring. Only the Rockies and the White Sox have fewer errors in the Cactus League.
Victor Caratini, the Cub catcher, the cleanup hitter on deck. Ravi would like to get a quick first inning if he can. That's the theme we'd like to see all year long. Breaking ball missed, rolls away from Avila, and Bodie moves to second base. Count goes full on Schwarber, 3-2.
Good base running right there by David Bodie. He read that pitch was going to be in the dirt, was off like a shot before Alex Avila even blocked that ball. No chance for a play at second. And look at Alex straying down toward third base with the shift on. Nick Ahmed was playing up the middle of the field, or Eduardo Escobar rather, playing up the middle of the field. And Alex realized there was nobody at third base.
So Robbie Ray went 3-2 on Bodie, walked him. Now it's full on Schwarber with Bodie at second and 1 out. Flores will back up on the outfield grass at second. That's spanked foul down the third base side.
Well, that's one thing we've seen with all the exaggerated shifts in baseball. You've got to think. You can't just sit at your position, and if a ball's not hit to you, take a nap until the next pitch is thrown, because there are going to be vacated bases if you play the exaggerated pull shift. And an example right there, a ball in the dirt, the runner advances first to second, but nobody was covering third base. An alert base runner might just turn the corner and keep going and try to win that foot race with either the catcher or the infielder on the left side.
That one is by Escobar at third, and into left. They will wave Bodie, and the Cubs have a 1-0 lead.
Pretty nice piece of hitting right there by Kyle Schwarber, staying on a pitch down low and away, gets it through Escobar into left field. And once again, the exaggerated shift, Escobar moving to his left to try to make that play. No cutoff man available on that particular play, so Schwarber advances into scoring position himself.
At second base, still one out, a run is home. Here's Caratini, who will back up Wilson Contreras for the Cubs this year. 232 last season, couple of home runs. Chops at a breaking pitch, and it's 0-1.
This is another one. The catchers get clubbed in the helmet an awful lot, sliding inside to block a pitch in the dirt, and the batter takes a hack at it. That time Alex able to avoid the backswing.
Well, Robbie approaching 20 pitches here in the first inning, still only one out. Schwarber takes off for third. The throw from Avila is high, and Schwarber sneaks in there. Well, we told you a moment ago he's been a little more agile. He's slimmed down. That catcher's physique is no longer a problem. And he's off and running here.
Yeah, didn't even really get a great jump that time, but took advantage of somewhat slow delivery from Robbie Ray. Shows his wheels, motoring into third base. That's one thing you'll see, well, you used to see a lot of in spring training. I know we did when I was managing, guys running wild on the bases. Pitchers are so focused on their deliveries and their mechanics and executing each individual pitch. Occasionally they forget about those base runners, and that time Schwarber was able to take advantage.
So the pitch on the steal attempt was a strike, and Caratini punches out, 2 down.
Another nice stop by Alex back there behind the dish.
Here is Addison Russell, who is currently under suspension by Major League Baseball. He's allowed to play in spring training games. Last year, a lot of off the field issues. 250 and 5 homers. This is launched high in the air, playable for Peralta in left field. Cubs strike first. Diamondbacks coming up. David Bodie, a walk, a wild pitch, a Schwarber RBI single has given the Cubs the early lead. And on the mound for Chicago this afternoon, making his first start this spring, the left-hander Jose Quintana.
13-game winner for the Cubbies last year. With a variety of pitches at his disposal. Real good straight changeup. Spots the fastball on both sides of the plate.
Let's take a look at the Diamondbacks batting order today. That's brought to you by your Valley Chevy dealers.
Socrates Brito, the right fielder, will lead it off. Ketel Marte in center field today. Eduardo Escobar down at third base. David Peralta in the left field. Wilmer Flores will be at second base with Jake Lamb at first. Nick Ahmed at short. Alex Avila doing the catching. And another catcher, Carson Kelly, serving as the DH this afternoon.
Brito in right field leads it off. This is a big spring for Socrates Brito. 24 games with the D-backs last year. $175 and a home run. He only had 40 at-bats all season in the majors. That one just fouled down the third base line in front of Tony Perez-Chica. Brito is out of minor league options. And so this really is a make-or-break spring for him.
Yeah, you hate to ever really see an injury to a teammate, but the slow progress this spring by Gerard Dyson has kind of opened the door a little bit for Socrates Brito to get some more playing time and show what he can do.
And of course, Ketel Marte is transitioning into center field. Marte is on deck, and with Dyson out right now with an oblique problem, depth in center field is a bit of a concern, although that might be a little bit of a strong word. Dyson is only expected to miss about a week or so. But Brito's an option for center. Ideally, he's a corner outfielder, but he can play center certainly. Souza could step in at center field, but the idea at this point and from this point on will be to get Marte as many reps as they can. 3-1 from Quintana.
I'll tell you one thing about Ketel Marte. He's got the right teacher in Dave McKay. We've talked about it at length over the years, what a tremendous outfield instructor Dave McKay is. I mean, if he can turn Alfonso Soriano from a butcher into an average fielding left fielder, that's about as good as you can get.
He did that in Chicago. He's the one that made Ender Inciarte a Gold Glove outfielder. Dave McKay coaching at first. D-backs outfield coach. Broken back bouncer to second. Happ is there to clean it up. One away. Let's take a look around the diamond at the Cubs defensively. That's brought to you by E.B. Marshall Jewelers.
Johnny Field in left field. Evan Marzilli out in center. Mark Zagrunas in right field. Across the infield, we'll see David Bodie at third. Addison Russell and Ian Happ make up the double play combo up the middle with Jim Adduci at first base. Victor Caratini doing the catching for lefty Jose Quintana.
Here is the switch hitting center fielder, Ketel Marte. 2 for 8 on the spring so far. Torrey emphasized this with us earlier today that from this point on, you see Marte's numbers from last year. He will play the majority of his games in the outfield. He's been transitioning from the infield. Out there in center today.
I haven't talked to Ketel about it yet, but I would imagine one of the bigger adjustments that he's going to go through is the different glove.
I bet, yeah.
Using that small infielder's glove at second base so you can make that exchange into the throwing hand quickly, and the outfielders use that big, long 12-inch glove. The pocket is much smaller than it is on an infielder's glove, but the length helps you steal balls hit near the fence.
There's been a lot of talk early this spring about Jake Lamb moving to first base. He's actually using one of Goldie's old first baseman's mitts until he gets his own. 2 balls and 1 strike on the D-back center fielder. Right back to Quintana. So with Marte moving to center and Lamb moving to first, that clears third base in the D-back infield for Eduardo Escobar, who was a tremendous addition about midseason last year. Acquired from Minnesota just before the deadline. And between the Twins and the D-backs, 272. And career highs, 23 homers, 48 doubles. He knocked in 84 runs. Escobar's 48 doubles, actually second most in all of Major League Baseball, behind only the Astros' Alex Bregman. So plug in Escobar every day at third. Lamb at first, Flores at second, Marte in center, Kelly maybe behind the plate. It's going to be a very different look out there this year, Bob.
Yeah, no question about it, and a lot of moving pieces. And as we saw last season, and we've seen from Torey Lovullo throughout his managerial career, he likes guys that he can move around if necessary.
Versatility is big.
You mentioned the 48 doubles combined last year for Escobar. Look, he had 3 triples for the Twins. He could have easily had 50 doubles had he pulled a Mark Grace and just stopped at second base.
That's what smart players do, right, Gracie? Gracie will be joining us on the broadcast in a few moments. Gracie and Rick Sutcliffe were sharing Cubby stories before the game today. Sut is down there in uniform in the Cub dugout, as he is every spring. Former Cy Young winner. 3-1 to Eduardo Escobar. Little bloop that's going to dunk into right field, a 2-out single.
That's a 2-strike approach you don't see a lot in the major leagues. Just try to make contact, put the ball in play between the white lines somewhere. So many guys these days, even in 2-strike counts, are looking to lift, get the ball in the air to the outfield, try to drive it out of the ballpark. But Escobar, a good contact hitter, that time fights off a pitch to the opposite field for a 2-out knock.
And a chance for David Peralta, the freight train, coming off of Banner 2018. His first career Silver Slugger award with those numbers right there. Career high 30 home runs, batting in the cleanup spot. Is there a danger with David, Bob, that with Goldie no longer here, A.J. Pollock no longer here, that maybe Peralta, coming off a great year, tries to do a little too much to make up for that?
I think it might be human nature. I think David realizes how important he is to this ball club, obviously in the clubhouse, on the plane and on the bus, but especially in the middle of that lineup. He knows he's expected to produce. He's done it, and he expects to do it again. You just hope that he just, use all the spring training cliches. Stay within yourself.
David carried them at times last year, especially in August when he was tremendous offensively. Russell at shortstop will throw across the diamond. He'll get Peralta. That ends the inning. We've played one. D-backs trail the Cubs 1-0. In sunny Scottsdale, D-backs trail the Cubs 1-0. Here is former D-back and former Cub Gracie back with us. Mark Grace joins us today. How are you?
Hi, Steve. Hello, Bob.
How you doing?
How are
Gracie?
you guys?
Yeah, we're great.
We're not as busy as you. You were making the rounds all morning, checking in with everybody on both sides.
Well, yeah, I've got to do a few innings with you guys today, and then I got to work again on the 19th. Man, I am working hard.
You're getting overtime?
Boy, it is a struggle.
Jim Adducci, the first baseman, whose father was also Jim Adduci. You guys saw Jim Adduci's dad play back in the days in the 1980s.
His dad was a San Diego State boy, if I'm not mistaken.
And you and Scott Geyer.
Yeah.
Tony Gwynn.
Tony Gwynn.
Yeah.
Still can't believe we're talking about Tony in the past tense. It's heartbreaking.
0-2 on Adduci. And at first base for Rizzo today. Swing and a miss. Avila cleans that up, and Robbie has his second strikeout.
Robbie breaking out the hard slider early on Jimmy Adduci.
Yeah, and has thrown a lot of them right where this one ends up, just off the outside corner in the dirt. Tough pitch, especially for a left-handed hitter to lay off of.
No question. I know I couldn't do it. You know, I heard you talking about the triples in me earlier, Bob.
Yeah.
And I stopped at second because I went by a theory, Steve and Bob. Triples make you tired.
Well, you've got to conserve your energy. It's a long season.
I mean, man, you get to third base, it's like, whoo.
You might be called on to steal a base later in the game. You want to save a little bit.
It's just strategies, all that is.
I'll tell you what, triples, there was nothing worse than hitting a triple or having to score from first at Coors Field.
Ooh.
Oh, my gosh, your lungs had icicles.
No air, nowhere.
This is the right fielder today, Mark Zagunis for the Cubs.
Or if you hit a triple and the next guy hits the first pitch in the air to shallow outfield.
You got to try and tag.
You got to tag and try to score.
Thanks.
At least wait a pitch or two.
Yeah, please.
1-1 on Zagunis, who does have a home run already this year in Cactus League play. 2 balls and a strike.
Well, what do you think of the early things you've seen so far, fellas, from the boys here in Phoenix?
A lot of offense. Everybody is hitting. Christian Walker is on fire. Wilmer Flores has had a terrific start. I think Steven Souza looks great. And some of the other guys are getting eased in, like Marte and Lamb and Peralta. That one almost kicked by Robbie. It rolls into center. Zagunis aboard. I think, Gracie, this team has a chance to have a very solid rotation and a really good bullpen.
And Bob and I were talking, and you as well, during the Fan Fest not too long ago, guys. And, you know, the 3 very good players that the Diamondbacks had last year are no longer here: Goldschmidt, Corbin, Pollock. But what that does for guys like Christian Walker, it creates opportunities. These guys, this poor son of a gun hadn't had an opportunity his whole minor league career. Now he's finally got a chance to get an everyday job in the big leagues, and so far he looks like he's jumping at the chance.
Walker has killed the ball the first week at Cactus League play.
He went 1 for 2, and his average went down over 100 points. That's how good he's been hitting.
And if you're thinking about, okay, Jake Lamb is going to be the first baseman every day, maybe you want to sit Jake occasionally against a tough lefty. We'll decide that down the road. So you might need a right-hand bat to play first base, and that could be Christian Walker. This is Johnny Field, the left fielder, a U of A Wildcat, acquired off waivers from the Twins last November.
Yeah, Christian Walker would be worth the price of admission just for the games we'll play against the Dodgers and the at-bats he'll get against Clayton Kershaw.
He seems to be the solo guy in all of baseball that can say, I own Clayton Kershaw.
And they weren't cheapies either.
Oh, my goodness.
2 pinch hit home runs against Kershaw last year. Both were absolute moonshots. There's Jake Lamb over at first. Robbie, as we told you, the cap today is going to be around 40 pitches. He's about to throw number 30 right here. They'd like to see him get into the 3rd inning if they can.
Well, unfortunately, guys, that's kind of been the MO for Robbie Ray over the years. The stuff is fabulous. The competitiveness is fabulous. Just the pitch count, unfortunately, hasn't been very fabulous for him.
Yeah, we used to call that TMP, too many pitches. And it seems like when Robbie has a rough outing, that's the main reason. It's not like he gets hit hard. He gets his share of strikeouts. But that pitch count usually bites him somewhere in the middle of the ball game, and Torrey's forced to make a move that maybe he wouldn't make otherwise if the pitch count was more reasonable.
It just seems like with Robbie, you mentioned the slider looks wicked, Gracie. He's got that. He's made a lot of progress with the curveball. If he can just start with fastball command and get that accuracy, he can have the kind of season he did 2 years ago when he was just dominant. But it always with Robbie, as I guess it does with most guys, starts with fastball command.
Fastball command, and Bob Brenly was a all-star catcher. He knows strike one is so important. And we talk about when a guy like Robbie Ray gets strike one, whether it's with a fastball strike or a breaking ball strike, now you've made your opponent have to swing the bat. You put him in swing mode, right, Bob?
And you don't have to be nearly as fine. If you're ahead in the count, we've seen Robbie throw that slider in the dirt numerous times already in this ball game. That becomes an effective pitch if the hitter's in the hole.
Dots the fastball right there, rings up field. Robbie with his third strikeout.
Yeah, Field looking for that slider that Robbie's been throwing, and he got him a fastball right down the middle and got locked up.
Here's the former Diamondback farmhand Evan Marzilli is the Cubs center fielder today. His numbers between AA Jackson and AAA Reno in the D-back system last year.
Well, this is a guy that I had in the minor leagues, and I just knew. There's that one sprayed foul. I just knew this kid was going to be a terrific Major League Baseball center fielder. Unfortunately, through injuries and injuries and kind of disappointing seasons, it just never happened for him here for the Diamondbacks. But he's one of those kids that you really hope finds a way to get in the big leagues, because he's just a wonderful kid.
Really good defender, very good base runner. The bat just never quite came around for Evan. 7 seasons in the D-backs minor league system, a career .255 hitter, and not a whole lot of power, just 22 home runs. Signed a minor league deal with the Cubs in January. He's down 0-1. Flores at second, gets over there, crosses to Lamb, and that gets us to the bottom of the second inning. D-backs trail the Cubs 1-0. Well, feel the berm. A beautiful sunny Friday here in Scottsdale, Arizona. Salt River Fields at Talking Stick. D-backs and the Cubs fans. Friday, April 5. The D-backs open the 2019 home schedule against the World Series champs. Michael Brenly's Red Sox will be here. Don't miss the excitement of opening day. Get your seats at dbacks.com. Does Michael, when's he get his ring?
I believe they're getting him for their home opener when they go back to Fenway. They open the season. They come here at the end of spring training to play the Cubs a couple of games, and then I believe they go to Seattle to open the season before coming here to Arizona for our home opener. But I think they get their rings the first game back at Fenway.
Yeah, we get a 3-game weekend series with the Red Sox coming off their big World Series win over the Dodgers. Here is one of the new Diamondbacks, Wilmer Flores, signed as a free agent from the Mets this winter. He's down 0-2 against the lefty Jose Quintana. And check his swing there, and Flores does something he rarely does, strike out. He's a very good contact type hitter up there.
He's got a very good knowledge of his own strike zone. You rarely see him go out of the zone like he did on that high fastball.
You mentioned this is Quintana's first start this spring, so you got to think it'll be a very tight pitch count. Tyler Chatwood has started warming up in the Cub bullpen, coming off a rough first season in Chicago last year. Here's Jake Lamb.
Can you believe, guys, a week ago today it was snowing in Scottsdale?
Yeah.
And now it couldn't be more picture perfect here and warm.
I know we didn't get a polar vortex or anything like the Midwest went through the eastern seaboard, but wasn't it a lousy winter? I mean, it was just miserable, cold, gray, and you're right, Gracie. It is gorgeous here today.
Our friends up in Flagstaff got at least 3 or 4 feet of snow.
Yeah,
they set records, but you'd never know that here. Less than a full week into the Cactus League season. 2 balls and 1 strike on Jake.
Yeah, you can see just a little bit of snow out there on Four Peaks. All the snow on the McDowell Mountains, which are much closer to the stadium here, is melted away. But boy, it was quite a sight. I felt like we were in Switzerland.
It was beautiful.
Quick glove hand there from Quintana. They retire Lamb. He's now sit down 3 in a row.
Quintana's made a few plays today. That was a sharply hit ball right back at him. He made it look easy.
Good fielding position, has his legs underneath him, facing home plate as he releases that ball. So many guys, Zach Godley, tend to spin off that mound, and obviously you're not in good fielding position. Some of those comebackers sneak through into center field for base hits.
But if you hit a ground ball to first, Zach will catch it.
Yeah, a real good chance he'll catch it.
Well, speaking of catching the baseball, here's Nick Ahmed coming off a Gold Glove season at shortstop and a very good offensive year. Career high 16 homers and 70 runs batted in. What do you make, Gracie, of Nick's progression as a hitter last year?
Well, he's a guy that I just love watching this young man play baseball. Now he's become a threat offensively when, man, I didn't care what he did offensively. I just loved watching him save outs and save runs on the defensive side of the game. But now he's become a threat with the bat. 70 RBIs for a guy like Nick that when I first got him in the minor leagues, hit about 214 in Double-A, and he had to get hot to get to 214. And I mean, he was hitting about 140 at the All-Star break, but you had to play him every day because he was so good on the defensive end.
And now 70 runs batted in. That's a D-backs record for a shortstop. Also had 33 doubles.
And it's all through hard work, guys. This guy has a passion for this game. He loves to play it, and he just wants to get better and better every year. And he wants to become an all-star. You know, he's become the everyday shortstop that he's always. Now he wants to be one of the best shortstops on both sides of the ball.
And the 16 home runs, a career high, but there was a point last season it looked like Nick might hit 20 or 25 early on.
Addison Russell, the Cubs shortstop. 4 in a row set down by Quintana. Cubs lead the D-backs 1-0. Salt River Fields at Talking Stick. Steve Berthiaume, Bob Brenly, Mark Grace with you. D-backs trail the Cubs 1-0 as we start the third inning. Robbie Ray back out there. He'll face Ian Happ, David Bodie, and Kyle Schwarber. If he can get through this third inning, they want to limit him to 40 pitches. Happ grounded out to lead off the ball game.
Bob, when you were managing, you were my manager as well as a lot of other guys that pitched for you. Did you believe in pitch counts and that kind of stuff early in spring training, or did you leave that more up to Bob Welch and your pitching coaches?
I defer to the pitching coach and the pitchers themselves. You know, everybody kind of knows what they need to do as that one's chopped out in front of the mound. Robbie Ray throws it down the right field line. Have to wait on an official scoring ruling right there, but nonetheless, the leadoff hitter Happ on base to start the inning here.
Happ's a guy that runs really well, and not a lot of time for Robbie. Pulled Lamb off the bag.
Getting back to your question, Gracie, I deferred to Bob Welch and later Chuck Niffen and the pitchers themselves. They kind of knew what was necessary to get them ready come opening day, and that was our main focus. We didn't really care if a guy looked good in spring training. Just get your work in, work on your mechanics, work on the pitches you want to tighten up before the season opens. But we were never tied to pitch counts. When you got RJ and Schill at the top of the rotation, you let them throw until the other team shows they can't get them out anymore.
And Steve, if spring training results mattered, Randy Johnson would have never made the team.
Well, Mark Zepchinski, the left-hander, a candidate for a bullpen job, starting to warm up as Robbie gets close to that 40 pitch mark. Mike Butcher out there to have a word. Torey Lovullo was asked yesterday. They've got right now Robbie Ray lined up in front of Zach Greinke in the rotation this spring. And somebody said, well, is that an indication about your opening day starter? Does that mean it'll be Robbie Ray on opening day? And Torey said, well, they haven't gotten there yet. But Zach Greinke is throwing the ball very well, ahead of where he was last year. Remember, he had to be pushed back from opening day last season when he had that minor groin injury. But right now, Robbie Ray is 1 and Zach Greinke is 2, at least as they line up here in the second week of Cactus League play.
And certainly there's enough time left in spring training to make adjustments if you want to switch it around the other way. But I never understood why pitchers would get upset. I want to be the 2. I don't want to be the 4th pitcher in the rotation. I want to be number 1. I don't want to be number 3. You're going to make the same amount of starts over the year. If you're at the top of the rotation, you're always going to be matched up against the other team's best pitcher.
Exactly.
I'd rather be hiding down there in the bottom of the rotation.
Go ahead and let me pitch a few days later.
Well, the D-backs are here tomorrow afternoon against the Dodgers at Salt River Field. Matt Andriese will start that game against LA's Brock Stewart, while Zach Greinke will throw a B game tomorrow against the Angels over in Tempe. That will also be Archie Bradley's first outing this spring. And they like the idea of keeping Greinke away from the Dodgers, let him get his work in a little more quiet, controlled atmosphere that still is a competitive environment. So it's not like Greinke is behind on his work schedule either. He goes tomorrow.
No, trust me, Steve. When you go back there on those minor league fields and your name is Zach Greinke, you've got a whole team of other young players wanting to make a name for themselves off of Zach Greinke. So trust me, when you go to those back minor league fields, you're in for a tussle.
I think a big point of emphasis this spring, and Torrey talked about this in regard to Jimmy Sherfy earlier today, is for these pitchers to control the running game. And maybe that was what Mike Butcher was talking about. Let's get some work in over there and keeping Happ close at first. He's a guy that does run very well.
That's a part of the game that you're starting to see really slow down. The stolen base, the hit and run. You don't see much hitting and running anymore.
Everybody strikes out too much to do that. Yeah.
And why hit and run if you're gonna hit it off the scoreboard?
1 and 2.
Or at least try to.
Here goes Happ on a 1-2 pitch in the dirt. Good throw from Avila, and they get him at second base. Flores applies the tag. Alex Avila back there today.
Well, Bob is an old catcher. I know you appreciate that. How about a short hop there to Avila, and he comes right out of the chute. That was a beauty.
Picked it cleanly out of the dirt. Nice tag down there by Wilmer Flores to get the out at second base.
You know how hard that is.
Oh, man. I mean, you talk about a split-second decision. You feel the ball hit your glove, you stick your hand in there, you might get a handful of dirt, you might not get seams on the baseball, but that time it appeared Alex had it perfectly on a one hop and fired down to second base for the out.
So we'll see how long the leash is for Robbie here. He's in the third. He's at the 40 pitch mark. Those were both targets to shoot for going into today. Zepchinski ready in the bullpen. And you've got the left-hand hitting Schwarber on deck. Full count on Bodie, 3-2. A bullet to third, Eduardo Escobar, 2 down. And we'll see what Torey Lovullo wants to do. Here he comes.
Later in spring, you might be willing to go ahead and extend him, try to get the last out of this inning. But this early in camp, you don't want to push anybody beyond the limits that you set before the game starts.
So Robbie gave up 1 run, 3 hits. He walked 1, struck out 3. Back from Scottsdale after this. Third inning here in Scottsdale. Steve Berthiaume, Bob Brenly, Mark Grace with you. D-backs trail the Cubs 1-0. And on to try and get the final out of this top of the third. Veteran left-hander Mark Zepchinski signed by the D-backs just before camp opened last month. His numbers with the Mariners and Indians last year. 23 appearances, a total of only 10 innings in the big leagues, but a veteran of 10 seasons in the majors. Sort of your classic journeyman lefty reliever type guy.
Yeah, Diamondbacks fans may remember Mark Zepchinski from his time with the St. Louis Cardinals as a left-handed specialist for Tony La Russa.
Yeah, part of that Cardinals team that won the 2011 World Series. Yep. Here's Schwarber, who had the RBI single in the first.
And this is going to be Zepchinski's.
Nice work, Gracie. Outstanding.
Woo, that was painful. But this is going to be his role this year. He's going to come in and he's going to face left-handed hitters. So I would imagine Torey, in most cases, would love to to have given Robbie Ray an opportunity to face, but he also wants to see if Zipczynski can make the ball club. He's going to have to face a lot of left-handers in spring training and make the ball club.
Well, you know, it's interesting the way the bullpen stacks up, and there's some real depth back there. If you're thinking about left-handers, there's the shift against Schwarber. You know, TJ McFarland was kind of the long guy back there, but TJ is so good, especially getting those ground balls, that maybe you want to use him as more of a lefty specialist type, which takes him out of contention for a long man role. So there's some competition for this left hand out situation.
And I also think that McFarland, that long man really fit him for a couple years. He was awfully good at it.
But they've realized in TJ the last couple of years, we got something a little bit more than that right here with this guy. Marte in center, and Cattell runs it down. A good test for the new center fielder. D-backs trail the Cubs 1-0. Nice job. Here at Salt River Fields at Talking Stick. D-backs trail the Cubs 1-0. Gracie and Bob, how about Cattell Marte in center?
Yeah, we were talking after the inning ended. A good jump on the ball, took a good line, one quick peek back to the fence. He feels that warning track under his feet, makes a nice running catch. We've talked a lot about his athleticism, and he showed a lot of it right there.
Our Chaz Roberts, air conditioning and plumbing, cool, play of the game.
Some good closing speed right there to snare that one. Impressive.
He is an athlete out there. New pitcher for Chicago, the right-hander Tyler Chatwood, who will face the catcher Alex Avila to lead off the bottom of the third.
Alex took about 5 minutes to dig a hole for his back foot. Now we can start play.
Well, there is a pitch clock this spring. It's not being enforced yet, but it will be soon, probably sometime next week. Chatwood, 2 seasons ago, no pitcher in the National League lost more games. Last year, no pitcher in baseball walked more batters. So it's been a bumpy ride last couple of years.
A couple of dubious titles.
Walked 10 more than he struck out in over 100 innings. That's usually not what you're trying to do. A lot of base runners, and then when you do happen to make a mistake, it really hurts.
That'll put you to work in the private sector real quick.
Yes, it will.
He won 12 games in Colorado in 2016, but then in his final year before he hit free agency, he led the league with 15 losses, but the Cubs liked his stuff so much they gave Chatwood a 3-year, $38 million free agent deal, and in his first year in Chicago he led the major leagues in bases on balls, 1 and 2 on Avila. That's hit hard into right field, a base hit.
Difficult to beat the shift, but Alex did that perfectly right over the top of the second baseman.
Gracie, I talk to left-hand batters all the time about what do you do when there's a shift on, and most of them tell me, I just want to hit it hard, hit it through the shift. Forget about trying to go away from it or over it, just hit it hard somewhere in there.
Well, I wasn't a dead pull hitter, so would I have been a shift candidate? I don't know. I'm sure some teams would have probably done it and tried to, off speed me to make me pull the ball into the shift, something like that. But I just think that, and I never had a problem swatting balls the other way for base hits, or there's hits over there too.
Here is Carson Kelly, who is the DH, batting 9th today. One of the key pieces acquired from St. Louis in the Paul Goldschmidt trade. Kelly was behind the plate here yesterday against Cleveland. Trade with St. Louis last December. They got Luke Weaver, who will be part of their rotation. He looked very good in the backfield Wednesday.
He's got a good arm.
Live fastball and a great changeup, Luke Weaver. So he figures to be in the rotation. Kelly, who was stuck behind Yadier Molina in St. Louis as the backup catcher, still only 24 years old, with a very bright future ahead of him. Former second-round draft pick by St. Louis.
We were talking earlier about Christian Walker and the opportunity that he has with Paul Goldschmidt not being here at Salt River Fields in Arizona anymore, and I think Carson Kelly probably views it the same way. Yeah, he may have had to wait another year or 2 or 3 depending on when Yadi decides he's had enough, but I think Carson Kelly realizes this is an opportunity for him.
Yeah, usually if you're stuck behind Yadier Molina, as that one's ripped into center field for a base hit.
Kelly banged a double to right center of the game here yesterday against Cleveland, and there's a single up the middle. So far, so good.
Yeah, but when you find yourself sitting behind Yadier Molina, I'm sure Carson Kelly's just saying, you know what, I'm going to have to hold the clipboard for a couple of years here,
Well, they only got in 19 games with the Cardinals last year, just 42 major league plate appearances stuck behind Molina. Spent most of the year at AAA Memphis.
Probably caught a lot of bullpens and did a lot of charting.
So 2 on, nobody out, down 1-0. Here's Brito, who grounded out his first time up. I think the key for Socrates, guys, he's just healthy. This is first time in years he's been healthy. Avila's at second, Kelly's at first, nobody out. He has had a litany of injury issues, Socrates Brito, the last 3 years. You name it, he's broken it.
And before he started getting injured, I kind of compared this young man to when he was in his early 20s. Do you remember Willie Wilson?
Oh, sure.
Kansas City Royals.
Great Kansas City Royal player.
Brito carves one out to left field that backs up field. Shy of the warning track out there. Avila will hold at second, 1 away.
Unfortunately, that's a poor out right there made by Socrates Brito. A lazy fly ball to left. That's not going to move any runners up. But Socrates was a guy, great speed, some decent power. And a guy that could, in the minor leagues, he was hitting over 300.
He was their minor league player of the year several years ago.
Now Willie Wilson won a batting title. I'm not saying he's going to be a batting title guy, but he's a tremendous guy to have on your team as a fourth or fifth outfielder that can come in and do some damage.
Bounce to second for Happ. He'll settle for 1 as the runners move up, 2 down.
It's probably a little too early in the season to nitpick, but had Socrates Brito been able to move the ball to the right side of the field, move those runners up, that could possibly be an RBI ground ball right there.
You're looking at a tie ball game, and who knows what happens later in the game. But 90 feet is precious in this game, isn't it, Bob?
I asked Joe Torre before I managed against him in the 01 World Series when I was broadcasting much earlier. I said, what's the difference between postseason baseball and regular season? He says postseason baseball is a 90-foot war. And I never really thought about it that way, but when you think about it, especially in those postseason games where every out, every at bat, every pitch is so important, picking up that 90 feet, whether it's getting a good jump on a ball in the dirt, advancing on a ground ball to the right side, tagging up on a fly ball to the outfield, if you can move that extra 90 feet, obviously you're that much closer to scoring a run.
Second and third, 2 down for Escobar, who singled into right field his first time up.
Steve, most fans remember late in the game runs or late in the game heroics, and of course we're human beings. But these first 3-4 innings, they're just as important. They count just as much as those late innings. So if you can find a way to scratch one across by moving a runner up and scoring on an out, makes life a little bit easier late in the ball game.
Well, Alfonso Marquez gave Chatwood the strike call that time, and Escobar is down, no balls and 2 strikes. Avila's at third, Kelly's at second, 2 outs. The Diamondbacks are 4-1-1 so far this spring. I know that means nothing, but it's in these situations, the first week of Cactus League play, where most often than not they've come up with a big hit. They've scored a whole lot of runs so far. Offense has not been an issue.
It's never too early to learn how to win.
That's a good point. And creating that culture, creating that environment here is priority 1 for Mike Hazen and Torey Lovullo, the whole group. Base hit can give the D-backs the lead. Naducci has it at first, and Chatwood able to strand those 2 leadoff singles. It stays 1-0 Chicago. 4th inning here in Scottsdale. D-backs spring training baseball, always live with MLB at Bat. You can follow the action through game day, watch video highlights and track stats, standings, breaking news, and a whole lot more. Download MLB at Bat now, your #1 dbacks.com app. Our first look this spring at a guy who may play a very key role for the 2019 Diamondbacks. The right-hander Greg Holland, his numbers last year with both the Nationals and the Cardinals. At one time, an elite closer both in Kansas City and Colorado. Live fastball, and when he's on form, a devastating slider. There's the catcher, Victor Caratini.
Almost 2 different seasons for him last year, wasn't it, Steve? St. Louis, I mean, nothing went right for him.
Well, you know, Gracie, Caratini struck out his first time up. 2 years ago, Holland had 41 saves in Colorado. Tied for the league lead, and he thought this one is over the mound. Ahmed gets over there, throws across his body, makes a nice play. What else is new? Holland thought, okay, 41 saves, I'm really going to cash in here. Here's one more look at Ahmed.
I'm glad to see this play. We were talking to Peter Gammons and Rick Sutcliffe earlier today, and I said he's the best defensive shortstop I've ever seen. And you know, Sutton and I played in the same era. He saw Ozzie Smith just like I did, and this is not to take anything away from Ozzie or Omar Vizquel or any of the other great defensive shortstops, but I've never seen anybody do it like Nick does.
Folks, yeah, and you'll say Bob is out of his mind, and I'll join him in Crazy Town. He's the best I've ever seen. Barry Larkin, Omar Vizquel.
You got
Ozzie. He's better.
BB got a big double take from Rick Sutcliffe on that one.
Well, you know, Rick Sutcliffe and I have been friends a long time, and Rick Sutcliffe, he is not the smartest guy on the planet.
I'm glad you said that.
Let's not kid ourselves.
Great star pitcher on that '84 Cubby team.
He was kind of the guy that, when I got to the big leagues in '88, he was a veteran guy, kind of took me under his wing.
Well, that's not what he told me.
Unfortunately, made me the man I am today.
He said, here's Russell, he said everybody knew, everybody in the Cub knew, when I pitch, you don't talk to me. Don't even come near me. Don't even look at me. Well, sure enough, here comes this dumb rookie, Mark Grace, who was, you were hitting in Sut's group. Do you remember this story?
I remember. He reminded me of it today.
And tapped on his shoulder and said, "Hey, do you know where the batting cages are, sir? And get out of here, kid." He said he sent you in full uniform across the Wrigley Field fan concourse over to the Cardinal bullpen.
Yeah, he over to the Cardinals
cages,
clubhouse,
yeah.
to their clubhouse. I walked all the way across and went down a few flights of stairs, and next thing you know, I see the great Red Shandies, who was a coach at the time for the Cardinals, Hall of Famer. And I was so dumb, I thought I was in the batting cages. So I looked at Red, who was in his Cardinal uniform. I said, "Oh, you guys must not be done hitting yet." And Red looked at me and said, "I don't know who the hell you are, kid, but somebody got you really good."
He still smiles ear to ear when he tells that story, Rick Sutcliffe.
The one Sutcliffe story that makes me smile, and Gracie, I'll let you tell it because you were there, but the fireworks.
Cincinnati, Ohio.
There you go.
Folks, if you've never been to a game in Cincinnati, they have a great tradition. Every time a Cincinnati Red hits a home run, they shoot off big, beautiful fireworks. Well, Sutcliffe's pitching one of those days, and he didn't have his A game. He didn't have his B game. He didn't have his X game. He was terrible. So, in the first inning, Paul O'Neill of that time the Cincinnati Reds, comes up and hits one a country mile back in old Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. And the fireworks go off. Boom, 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 da 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 da, all that. So, the very next batter is Eric Davis, as this one comes on the 3-2 count.
There's Marte, a chance in center. Can he get there? It drops in between he and Brito.
So now the very next hitter is Eric Davis. And Eric Davis hits the very next pitch from Rick Sutcliffe just as far to left field that Paul O'Neill hit to right field. So now
somebody's going down.
Here comes the fireworks. Boom, 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 boom. Da, 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 da. So now, I mean, they're smoking fireworks all over, and so Billy Connors was our pitching coach, and he was kind of a rotund guy, and he's going to come out and talk to Sutcliffe, our pitching coach. And Sutcliffe, one of those guys, like you said, don't talk to me when I'm pitching. Rack 'em, frack a soda cracker, So I mean, Billy's not even across the white line yet, and Sutcliffe's, you know, and I can't say it on TV, but there was a few expletives. And
no,
get your fat behind back in the dugout and tell Don Zimmer in there to settle down too. I got everything under control. So Billy finally gets to the mound and says, Rick, I know you got everything under control. I just wanted to come out here and give that guy running the fireworks a little more time to reload. And walked off the mound.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Walked off the mound, and I was on the mound, and I had to turn away and cover my mouth because I was about to crack up right in front of Rick Sutcliffe.
2-0 on the first baseman, Jim Aducci.
I love that story. Give the guy a chance to reload.
Those fireworks.
Well, Sut came here looking for Torey Lovullo. He wanted Torey.
Why's that?
Oh, yeah.
He said, he came up to me and said, do you know where Torey is? I said, yeah, he's right down there. Why? What's up? He goes, he said, I gave up 236 home runs in my career. I remember 235 of them. I don't remember giving up a home run to Torey Lovullo.
Oh, come on. Really? Torey got him?
Oh, Torey talked about that in the news conference before the game today for about 10 minutes.
Good for you, Torey.
He said, yeah, he said it was in Anaheim, and when Torey was playing with the Angels, and it just snuck over the fence.
Oh, of course it did, Sut.
Torey's trying to lay low. He does not want to tangle with Sut because Sut is a big dude. He's not a small man.
He's a big, strong man, yes.
Yeah, so Torey is trying to stay under the radar here today, or at least stay away from Rick Sutcliffe.
I have a feeling Sutcliffe will find him. He's truly one of my dear friends. It's always good to see him around.
So Holland in a bit of a mess here. A single and a walk puts 2 on, 1 out. And here's Mark Zagunis, the right fielder. Zagunis single his first time up.
And we've seen in the past that that Holland can get a little wild, can't he, guys?
He's got an unusual delivery. Really, that front side really flies open. And normally I would say he's given the hitter a really good look. You know, when that left shoulder and the left hip and you step to the first base side, it seems like you're giving that hitter a really good look. But when he's good and when he's down in the strike zone, I don't think it makes much difference.
I mean, you can see he's almost stepping towards the first base on deck circle with that front foot. You're right, you would think. But he gets a lot of swings and misses.
Sure does.
Well, we mentioned he had that 41 save season 2 years ago in Colorado. There's Mike Butcher, the pitching coach, and he figured he would cash in on the free agent market, but the market suddenly dried up as several guys found out. And opening day came around and Holland did not have a home. So he finally signed with St. Louis right after opening day, missed all of spring training. And he admits that really jammed him up, missing spring training last year. He was not the same guy in St. Louis that he had been with the Royals and the Rockies. Did not pitch very well, wound up getting released in August last year, signed with Washington, and when he got to the Nationals, then he returned to form. He was really good in Washington last year. His ERA, in fact, was less than 1.
Yeah, he became Greg Holland again, didn't he?
So the Diamondbacks are hoping that with a full spring training and coming off the final 6 weeks or so of last year, that they're getting the Greg Holland that we've all seen over the last decade or so. And he is in competition with Archie Bradley at this point for the closer's job. Archie will pitch tomorrow in a B game at Tempe, his first outing this spring. Holland behind on Zagunis, 3-1. This is hit deep to left field. Peralta's at the wall. He is looking up and it's gone on the berm. Mark Zagunis, his second home run this spring for the Cubs, a 3-run shot, and Chicago takes a 4-0 lead.
Well, that's a fastball count, and he threw a fastball right down the middle to a fastball hitter, and that's usually what you can expect on a ball thrown right there, huh, Bob?
Just below the belt, inner third of the plate. Guy that's hunting for fastballs, as we talked about earlier in the ball game, and the way the ball carries down here in the Cactus League, very little doubt about that one.
Steve?
Yes, sir.
Bob will agree with me on this. Those were really fun to hit.
They look like
those right there. Oh my goodness.
You know, so many times over the course of a ball game as a hitter, you get yourself into a count where you think, okay, pretty good chance he's going to throw this pitch. I'm going to look for it right here. And when they throw it there, You better not miss it.
You don't miss it.
That's your dream pitch.
Swing it with bad intentions.
Yep.
And major league hitters, more times than not, they're going to connect.
And here's Johnny Field, who struck out looking against Robbie Ray back in the second.
Yeah, taking advantage of pitchers' mistakes. I heard it so many times when I was a young player that if pitchers execute their pitches, nobody will ever hit.
It's a great point.
If every pitcher was able to throw the ball where he wants, when he wants, nobody would ever get a hit. But pitchers are human. They make mistakes. The key is when they make a mistake, don't miss it, because you're not sure when you're going to get another one.
You might not get another one like that for a week.
Yeah. And those predictable counts, Bert and I used to talk about this all the time last year. They've pretty much gone away. We see guys throw 3-0 change-ups and 3-1 breaking balls. It used to be if a hitter worked the count in his favor, 2-0, 3-1, even 3-2, you were pretty sure you were going to get the guy's best fastball. Not anymore.
No, it was a manhood thing back in our era. It was, man, have some courage. Come on, throw your fastball.
Bounces back and gets the strikeout. You saw the left-hander Miguel Aguilar warming up in the D-back bullpen, one of the pitchers from minor league camp. And here comes Torey Lovello with Holland over 20 pitches. He's done.
Good breaking ball there to get a strikeout to end his afternoon.
So our first look at Greg Holland this year. We'll take a break. Back after this, D-backs trail at 4-0. First inning, our nationwide vision centers eye on the game. Kyle Schwarber with an RBI single scores David Bodie. The Cubs took a 1-0 lead. And then just a moment ago, Mark Zepchinski deep to center. Ketel Marte runs that one down in center field. Fourth inning, Zagunis off Holland, a 3-run shot, and it's 4-0 Chicago. That's where we stand for the moment, as Miguel Aguilar, the left-hander, is on to face former D-back Evan Marzilli. Aguilar had a good year last year between single-A Visalia, double-A Jackson. Appeared in 47 games, had a 2.97 ERA and 65 strikeouts in just under 58 innings.
That's very good in both those leagues. The Cal League is a big time offensive league where he was an A-ball, and Jackson, Tennessee, where the Diamondbacks reside in Double-A.
And this is the way it generally works in spring training. You have a handful of pitchers from minor league camp that they stash in the bullpen. And if one of the veterans cannot finish an inning because of pitch count, you bring the minor league guy in, just like Aguilar here. Gets the final out of the inning, and then it's back to business. D-backs trail the Cubs 4-0. I think Bobby Valentine is here with us today at Salt River Fields at Talking Stick, with the D-backs trail the Cubs 4-0. Maybe she's just trying to, she skipped out on work today, doesn't want to get caught.
I was going to say, I can't recognize her. Can you?
No.
Wednesday, the D-backs head to Maryvale, take on the Brewers. D-back spring training presented by Chaz Roberts. Wednesday at 1 o'clock right here on Fox Sports Arizona. Boy, the people that have been to Maryvale so far this spring, I've not been over there yet, have raved about the job that the Brewers did in sort of rebuilding that facility. They pumped a lot of money into that, and it is supposed to be first class all the way. Here's Peralta.
I know you'll echo this sentiment, Gracie. Really happy for Craig Counsell. What a great job he's done up there, returning home. Born and raised in Whitefish Bay, grew up around the Brewers with his father, working for the organization. Yeah, now comes back as the manager and really surprised the baseball world with what they were able to do last year.
That is a great story. That's a great baseball town too. They love their Brewers in Milwaukee. They do it. They get 3 million or more every year in there.
It's a great sports state, Wisconsin. Packers and Badgers, Bucks. David grounded out his first time up. He's in there in left field today. Tyler Chatwood back out for the Cubs, his second inning of work.
Back to Milwaukee, Steve. It's big to tailgate for college football games and all that. It's big. In Milwaukee, they tailgate 81 times for Brewer home games.
They do.
Yeah, our bus pulls into Miller Park, and you can smell the brats. First strikeout for Chatwood. Chatwood's stuff really moves. That's one of the reasons Joe Madden likes him so much. It looks like right now headed for the bullpen. He'd like to be a starter. They gave him $38 million, but when he's right, his stuff will really jump all over the place. Wilmer Flores now. Flores 3 for 6 in his Cactus League play coming into the game today. He struck out his first time up, but he has had some really good at bats. He's looked good. A couple of hits against the Indians Sunday over in Goodyear, and then against these Cubs Tuesday at Sloan Park in Mesa. Had a big 2-out bases loaded double. The new D-back second baseman Wilmer Flores signed as a free agent for the Mets last year.
He's one of those guys that his numbers aren't going to jump off the charts at you. It's like, wow, what a great offensive player. But he's just a tough out. He's a guy late in the ball game that, you know, as a manager, Bob, you're going, man, I'd really like somehow, some way to get this guy to the plate in a big situation. And right on cue, he strikes out. Look,
stay hot.
Attaboy, Wilmer.
Yeah, see the movement on that pitch from Chatwood, snuck it in that back door on Wilmer.
And another thing we've discovered over the years of spring training baseball, the deeper you get in the ball game, the bigger the strike zone gets.
As it gets warmer through March, umpires start to get a little more generous with their strike zones.
Yeah, I got a 5 o'clock reservation at Don and Charlie's. We got to move this thing along. Let's go.
Well, Russell, the shortstop, will play right behind the bag at second for Jake Lamb. There's Alfonso Marquez, our plate umpire today. A look at the Cubs defense. Lamb tapped back to the mound his first time up. Torre was telling us, Gracie, today there's no plan to get Jake any reps at third base. They are putting him on a crash course at first base. What's the toughest thing that he may have to learn transitioning over to first base? Man,
I mean, honestly, maybe when the ball's hit somewhere else to actually go cover first base. You've never had to do that before in your life. And I've known Jake a long time. He's never played first base. He's never done it. He's like you said, he's getting a crash course. And I think there's some anxiety there for him, because just, you know, anytime you're taken out of your comfort zone in life, you know, and his comfort zone is third base. And when you're taken out, you know, there's going to be anxiety. And right now, I would imagine there's some butterflies. Like you just don't. You want to do well, but you also don't want to do something to embarrass yourself on the baseball field. No player wants to do that.
Full count, 3-2 to Jake Lamb. First base for Adducci. Chatwood has sit down 6 in a row. We're through 4. D-backs trail at 4-0. Oh, what a great day to be out here. Salt River Fields at Talking Stick, our 9th season here. D-backs Cactus League action. Tomorrow, the red-hot Coyotes continue their playoff push. They take on the Detroit Red Wings. Coverage starts at 5:30 on Fox Sports Arizona Plus. The Coyotes are rolling right now.
And somehow, because a lot of them are hurt. I mean, they are dealing with all kinds of injuries, and yet they are still playing great hockey. Good for them.
Well, new pitcher for the Diamondbacks. Our first look this spring at Taylor Widener, who pitched all of last year at Double-A Jackson. You see the numbers, and he had an outstanding season in the Southern League. In fact, he was the D-backs minor league pitcher of the year.
How about 176 punch-outs and 137 and a third? You'll take that.
He led the Southern League in strikeouts and whip. He was second for the league ERA title. And he's up there against Ian Happ to start the 5th.
Well, that was a good fastball right on the outside corner. Didn't get the call.
Yeah, Baseball America rated him the best fastball in the organization. So that's
he's rushing it.
Yeah, pretty high praise.
Yeah, it's low to mid 90s, a big swing and miss type fastball, and he is not afraid to attack with that heater. He'll throw it up in the zone. He'll elevate. He's got sort of that low 3/4 arm slot. They like this guy an awful lot, and there's a decent chance we see him in the big leagues at some point this year. Nice play there by Jake Lamb, who takes it himself.
Jake stayed with that one nicely.
Yeah, Gracie, we were talking about the change from one side of the diamond to the other. What other things might get between his ears?
I think honestly, bunt plays are so much different for the third baseman than it is for the first baseman. Your assignments are completely different. So I think that'll have to be something that he and the Diamondbacks have a great infield instructor in Tony Perez-Chica. Tony will work countless hours with Jake and the rest of these guys to make sure they're ready.
Well, in this situation, Bodie up there right now with a right-hand hitter. Now, this isn't an overshift. You don't have three defenders on the left side of the infield. But you see where Jake is right now. Torrey was telling us the other day, right now when he plays off the line against a right-hand batter, he's comfortable at about 30 feet away from the bag. They'd like to see him get comfortable at 40 to 45. Right now, anything more than 30 is maybe outside his comfort zone at this point.
Wait. You're being serious?
Yeah.
They want him 40 to 45 feet.
Now remember, they want him out. That's what Goldie used to do when they play that overshift against a right-hand batter. Not all the time.
Goodness.
But they want. I mean, so often we see last year Goldie was the only defender between first and second base.
Well,
they'd like Jake to get there at some point.
Well, I know Jake's a little bit faster than I was. I mean, I don't know if I could win a foot race from 45 feet to a guy that's pretty quick from the right hand side. That's a lot. That's a pretty
45 feet obviously will put him halfway between first and second. There's the walk to Bodie.
I know the few times I got to play first base, that was the thing that terrified me when the ball was put into play, especially to the second baseman.
And they got to wait on it.
And you turn your back completely to the field to run to the base, trusting that second baseman's going to, time it just right so you have time to get to the base, find the bag with your foot, and make the play. That used to scare the living daylights out of me.
And I used to play quite a ways off. I didn't play 45 feet off, but I was out there, and Jay Bell on purpose would, ball would be hit to him, and you'd, like Bob said, you'd have to full tilt sprint, turn your back to the ball, and then go turn around. And Jay would do it every time I'd turn around, the ball would be about 20 feet from me, and I'd have to react real quick. And fortunately, Jay had a very accurate arm, and it was usually right in the chest area. But he would just laugh at me like, yep, I got you again.
Well, now on the left side of the infield, that's the situation in which Eduardo Escobar finds himself, because they've got the shift on against a left-hand hitting Schwarber. And he's the only defender between second and third base over there. Three defenders on the right side. Lamb holding Bodie in the bag at first. Flores on the edge of the grass. And Ahmed the shortstop of the first base side at second.
I think whether we're talking about Jake Lamb at first or Ketel Marte in center field, you want guys to get to the point where they just react to what they see.
Right.
Don't think, okay, where am I supposed to go when the ball's hit the left center? If there's a runner at first, am I the cut man or is Eduardo the cut? Who's the cut man? Eventually you get to the point where you're so comfortable it's just instinctive. The ball's put into play and you know right where to go.
Widener right now having trouble throwing strikes. He walked Bodie now behind on Schwarber 3-0.
He's just missing off that outside corner. And now Alex Avila will have to go have a talk with his young right-hander.
This is a guy the Diamondbacks like a lot. Now at the major league level, does Widener end up as a reliever? He's basically at this point got two really good pitches, which means he may profile better in the bullpen and in a rotation. But as we've seen, he's got a good live arm.
Bob, what was your theory on that? Every pitcher's different, obviously, but did you feel like a young player, just for instance, like a Widener, would you feel more comfortable bringing him to the big leagues and making him a reliever maybe for a year, and then we'll see how it works out? Or do you, man, let's throw him right in there and make him a starter?
Well, there's very few Brandon Webbs that come up from the minor league ready to jump into a rotation. I always felt it was to the young player's advantage to work them in the bullpen because you could control the situation a little bit more. You don't bring him in with runners on base to face the best hitter on the other team. You look for a situation to kind of ease those guys in, let them get their feet wet a little bit, and then see what you have.
Yeah, the guy when I was with the Cubs, that was Kerry Wood. He came right in and just started dominating from the minute he got to the big leagues. Brandon Webb did the same thing with the Diamondbacks when we were here.
There's Victor Caratini, the cleanup and the catcher, 0 for 2. P.J. Higgins runs for Schwarber at first. Well, Gracie, you bring up that point, excellent point, because Mike Hazen has talked a lot about that this spring. They've got 3 guys, 3 starting pitchers who are right on the cusp of being major league ready in Widener and Clark and Duplantier, and we may all see them this year, perhaps in the bullpen as that drops in between, right in front of David Peralta out there. Nick Ahmed was going out, David coming in, and it dunks in between them, and the bases are loaded.
You see David's pointing at the sun, and it's kind of a hazy day. You can see David, he just couldn't see it.
Well, that's a helpless feeling, staring up into that sun. You know the ball is somewhere around you, but you're not quite sure where.
Well, they had an issue with that in a game earlier this week. Communication, outfielders and infielders, and we're still at the point in spring training where that stuff is getting ironed out, but that's not going to make Torrey all that happy.
But also on a play like that, if you're, that's 99 out of 100. That's the outfielder's ball if he can see it. But it's up to David Peralta, and you can see he was not communicating. If you can't see it, you need to let Nick Ahmed know, hey, man, I can't see it. Take it, take it, take it. And that didn't happen there.
And you can do it verbally, or you can give that universal sign where the palms are up in the air. I don't see it. At least give Nick a chance to go ahead and pursue that ball without fear of running into David.
Addison Russell bats with the bases full and 1 out. D-backs trail at 4-0. You've got Bodie at third, Higgins at second, and Caratini at first. 1-1 pitch from Taylor Widener. On the ground to Escobar at third. They get 1, and they roll the double play.
That's
Good job by
done.
Widener, huh? It stays 4-0 Chicago. Here at Salt River Fields at Talking Stick, Steve Berthiaume, Bob Brenly, Mark Grace with you. D-backs and Cubs. Diamondbacks down 4-0. As Nick Ahmed leads off the home half of the 5th against Tyler Chatwood, who has set down the last 6 batters he's faced.
Yeah, we were talking earlier, the Diamondbacks have been very solid offensively in the early going this spring. Time to get the bats going.
They've already banged out 3 hits today.
Yeah, they had singles by Avila and Carson Kelly to lead off the 3rd against Chatwood. Nothing came of that, and Ahmed now, who grounded out to end the 2nd, will start us off in the home half of the 5th inning. A whole bunch of defensive changes out there for the Cubs, and we'll pass those along as we figure them out.
That's always fun for the play-by-play guy, isn't it, Steve?
It's great. It's a lot of clerical work involved.
There was a spring back when I was a player. Billy Martin was managing the A's.
Okay.
And they invited so many non-roster players to spring training. They had numbers in the hundreds.
Come on.
I'm telling you, they had guys wearing 102, 103, 110. It was like an ant farm over there.
Looks like Ryan Court is at third base, and Zach Short is at short for Chicago. Chatwood back out there for his 3rd inning of work. Ahmed fouls that one away, and it's 2-1.
Why is it not surprising that Billy Martin would do something like that?
So there is a look at Ryan Court.
Former Diamondback minor leaguer. I had him as well when I was a minor league coach. Great kid.
Draftee. And Zach Short at shortstop, number 91. 3-1 on Ahmed. Avila on deck.
Zach Short at short, and we had Johnny Field in left field.
Creepy, isn't it?
It is. Really creepy.
Sometimes the stars align. The tough part is when they, there's a strike from Alfonso Marquez, and it's full 3-2. When they come at you in waves, like they change 6 guys at once, then it's panic up here.
Now, if they bring up a guy named Johnny Designated Hitter, let's just go home.
The best words you can hear in broadcasting a spring training game is
straight up.
Straight up.
Changes are made straight up, which means the defender that comes into the game at that position hits in the same spot of the lineup as the guy he is replacing.
Zaguna stays in right field. He's got that one. 7 straight set down by Chatwood. Here's Alex Avila, who singled his first time up, hit the ball hard into right field. You may notice there's been some exchanges of uniform numbers on the D-back side this year.
Tell me about it.
Well, Eduardo Escobar wore number 5 when he was in Minnesota. He got here, and Alex Avila had taken 5 because the 2 numbers that Alex used were 13 and 31. Now Nick has 13.
Yes.
Brad Boxberger had 31. He signed before Alex did, so Avila took 5. So now Avila has given 5 back to Escobar, and he's reclaimed number 31. Brad Boxberger now in Kansas City. So it was nice they were able to work that out. Everybody's
Let's
happy.
hope that leads to some luck for both guys.
Alex last year, 80 games for the Diamondbacks.
Bob, you were always 15, right?
Most of my career. When I had signed with the Blue Jays in '89, got released in July and re-signed with the Giants, as that one's shot out into the gap in left center field for a base hit.
Now, wasn't there a problem with Rick Leach's numbers?
Well, that was in Toronto. I wore number 9. That's a whole other story.
Oh, okay.
But I came back to the Giants in '89, and 15 was taken, and 19 was available. So I wore 19 for the last month of the season, and then retired.
Okay, so we don't count that.
Nah.
Now we'll get a pinch runner in there.
So Alex Avila, a 2-for-2 day for him.
Here's Dalton Varsho, who will run for Avila. This is a guy that had a sensational year last year in the Diamondbacks minor league system. Looked very good in the fall league, and for a catcher, he can really run. Dalton Varsho.
I came up through the Cubs organization with his father, Gary Varsho, and same story. He was the fastest guy in our organization.
I saw a lot of Dalton Varsho here in the fall league last year. I've seen him beat out bunts for base hits. He's got a great pop time back there behind the plate, and he can really hit. He's a terrific athlete. One of the rising stars of this D-backs minor league system. Kelly lifts that one in the air short right. Zagunis will come in, and he's got it for the second out. And Dalton Varsho last year at Visalia, 286, 11 homers, stole 19 bases as a catcher. He was only caught 3 times.
Man.
Yeah. He was one of the starters behind the plate in the Arizona Fall League All-Star game last year up in Surprise.
I was going to say, with that kind of speed, he's going to find himself as an outfielder.
Well, there's talk about that may end up where he may end up either in the outfield, maybe at second base.
The Craig Biggio route.
Interesting.
Yeah. Socrates Brito. But he is a guy to watch if you're one of those folks that keeps an eye on Diamondbacks minor leaguers. Dalton Varsho. Brito so far 0 for 2 today. But right now Varsho is still a catcher, and a good one.
That's a pretty quick ticket to the big leagues, being a catcher as well.
Well, he's not a big guy, Dalton Varsho. You'll notice that right there. He's listed at 5'10". That might be a bit generous. But he's only 22 years old.
He's built like a mighty mite, though.
He sure is. Second round pick by the Diamondbacks 2 years ago out of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. His father Gary spent 8 years in the major leagues, was a Cub, a Pirate, spent some time in Cincinnati, Philadelphia.
And that's where, in Philadelphia, Gary Varsho, that's where he befriended the name of his son, named after Darren Dalton.
How about that, huh? I know Gary Varsho, I think he's scouting with the Pirates right now. He's still out there as a scout.
Could have called him Dutch. That's what everybody called him. Darren Dalton.
Yeah, nobody called him Darren.
The late Dutch Dalton.
He was part of those chowderhead teams in Philadelphia. Boy, those guys could get after it during the game and after the game.
Oh, my goodness.
I worked with John Kruk for a long time, and I heard a lot of stories, none of which we can tell here.
No.
None.
Brito takes a hack at that one. Pretty good 3-inning outing for Tyler Chatwood. D-backs trail it 4-0.
Yep.
Here in Scottsdale, Diamondbacks trail the Cubs 4-0. Fans be at Chase Field Saturday, April 13. That's Baseball Day, Arizona. A big day at the ballpark. D-backs and Padres, first 20,000 fans get the Archie Bradley Bobble Gnome. That's courtesy of Gila River Hotels and Casinos. The Archie Bradley Bobble Gnome gets handed out Saturday, April 13th. Get your tickets at dbacks.com. Defensive changes behind Taylor Widener, who's back out there for his second inning of work. And here's the first baseman, Jim Aducci. We're just talking about Dalton Varsho, who takes over behind the plate. Yasmani Tomas replaces Jake Lamb at first base. And Jazz Chisholm, one of the top prospects in the D-back system, is the new shortstop, and he is fun to watch.
I heard his name a lot this winter.
You're going to hear it a whole lot more. He made a diving stop Tuesday in Mesa at Sloan Park behind Zach Godley that saved a couple of runs. And had a sensational year in the minors last year, Jazz Chisholm. So right now we've got Taylor Widener on the mound. He was the Diamondbacks minor league pitcher of the year, and Chisholm was their minor league player of the year. Marte in center up into a light sky. A lot of cloud cover up there now. And he's got it for the first out.
What in the name of Ralph Garr is going out in the outfield?
Nice pull.
Yeah, it looked like he just didn't pick that one up initially off the bat, but it didn't panic, just kept looking up there into the afternoon skies and eventually found it and made the play.
Cattell made a nice running catch in the outfield earlier in the ball game. There is Tony Perez-Chica positioning his infielders. As Mark Zagunis steps up, he has singled and homered. This was Zagunis in the fourth against Greg Holland. His second home run this spring.
There's some action on that fastball, isn't there, guys?
Live arm.
You were talking, Gracie, we get into this for a moment about, is Taylor Widener a better fit long term in the bullpen or in the rotation? You've got Widener. You've got Taylor Clark, who started the other day up in Peoria against the Padres. You've got John Duplantier, who has looked good in the fall league and again this spring. All three guys, all starting pitchers in the minors last year, may all break into the majors this year as relievers. That's something Mike Hazen has talked a lot about.
So he's kind of a believer in bringing them along.
He's very open to that idea about letting them get their feet wet at this level as a relief pitcher instead of handing the ball as a starter, where you've got a lot more to worry about. He referred to it as sort of smaller bites of responsibility.
And I don't disagree with that philosophy, unless a guy has just dominated his entire career down in the minor leagues and you know, he's a strikeout victim, is what he is.
There's that fastball from Widener.
But you know, unless a guy is, you know, like we talked about Brandon Webb, guys like that, I don't have a problem with just bringing them along slowly.
Not at all. And you think about young players and give them 4 days to think about their next start, as opposed to the phone rings, get up, get loose, get in the game. You know, I think maybe that takes some of the mental pressure off a young player to bring him up that way.
There's Johnny Field, who is still the left fielder, former U of A player. Mike Hazen says, look, if you come up to the majors as a kid, as a starting pitcher, you are being asked to carry the game. So some early career relief work theoretically sort of lessens that burden. So they are open to that this year, so that's something to watch for. So
and I think also you want to try to take as much pressure off a young man as you can, because I mean,
you're not worried necessarily about the fate of the game all the time. You can at least get your feet wet as a relief pitcher. We'll see how it works. Now, if they need help in the rotation, if someone goes down with an injury, let's say, that may change the equation a bit. You might look to Taylor Clark or John Duplantier to step in. But there's a pretty good chance we see all three of those guys at the big league level in some capacity this year.
What's your take on Yohan Lopez? You think he's going to be a one inning guy?
I think he's going to be one of the best closers in the game if he doesn't get hurt. This guy, as Bert said, electric fastball.
And that slider looked filthy as well. Nice short hop charge by Escobar at third. And a good sixth inning for Taylor Widener. D-backs trail the Cubs 4-0. D-backs fans, get them started young. Terrific day to be out of the ballpark here in Scottsdale. Steve Berthiaume, Bob Brenly, Mark Grace with you. D-backs trailing the Cubs 4-0 as Carl Edwards Jr. is on from the Chicago bullpen. one of their key guys last year and will be counted on again this year.
He's got some talent.
Ooh. If his nickname isn't Blade, it ought to be.
Yeah, Blade or Oil Can.
There you go.
I mean, doesn't even remind you of Dennis Oil Can Boyd from back in the day. Tall, skinny, right-hander.
And
threw hard.
Something my partner loves. Single-digit number on a pitcher.
Yeah.
You like that?
No, I'm against it.
Oh, really?
I'm very happy that Luke Weaver changed from number 7. He's now 24 this year. So at least we don't see that. But to each his own. I'm okay with a pitch clock. You want to make relievers face 3 batters. I can deal with all that. Just make every pitcher have a double-digit number. That's what's really important.
You didn't like Ottavino having number 0.
I kind of like that because his name began and ended with an O, so it all sort of tied together. But that was an unusual case. New first baseman is Chesney Young for the Cubs, and he retires Ketel Marte, who's 0 for 3.
See, I personally thought Ottavino should wear double 0 since he had an O at the beginning and an O at the end.
That would have been even better.
That's very well said.
We got to get you involved in some of these marketing meetings. Escobar
I'm
has
sure that's just what the Diamondbacks would want. Don't worry, I'd only attend one, and then I wouldn't be allowed back in.
Ouch.
Victor Caratini still back there. He's been back there all day.
Look away.
Oh, boy. Boy, I really miss this game.
I don't miss that part of it. Not even a little bit.
I did that one time to Terry Kennedy in Candlestick Park, and he still, to this day, has not forgiven me.
Yeah.
I mean, this was back in like 1989, and he's scouting for the Chicago Cubs, and he still brings that up.
A little different look for Edwards this year. You see that little toe tap. The left foot comes down and actually drops right down in front of the rubber. He touches the dirt and then completes his delivery from there.
I was about to say, I didn't remember that from Carl Edwards.
He's added that little hitch.
New twist. Right there.
Trying to mess with guys' timing. No, he did not go. That's Mark Ripperger down there at third. .93 on the fastball, and it's 2-2.
Power on power right there. That time it was Edwards who won that battle.
Caratini hangs on to the foul tip, and Edwards gets the strikeout.
Escobar choked up on that bat a little bit. We saw him get a 2-strike hit back in the first inning for the Diamondbacks. Shortened his swing, choked up on the bat, and punched one into right field against Quintana, but that time couldn't quite catch up to the fastball.
You may notice we are using the pitch clock here. It is not being enforced the first week or so in Cactus League play, just to get folks used to the idea, but it is operating. And by next week, umpires are supposed to begin politely reminding guys that, hey, if we were using the clock, you'd be in violation.
Okay, so I'm going to ask both of you, how do you feel about that?
Well, eventually this spring they're going to start charging balls and strikes, and we'll get into that in a minute, but the clock is operational here today. A 1, 2, 3, 6 for Carl Edwards.
Thank you. It's my time.
You're done?
I'm going to bid you adieu.
You're leaving already?
Enjoy the rest of the game.
Thanks, Rizzy.
Short timer.
Yeah.
Nationwide Vision Center's eye on the game. Cubs have a 4-0 lead. They got one in the first against Robbie Ray after David Bodie walked. Kyle Schwarber singled him home. It was 1-0 Chicago, and then in the fourth, the big blow, Mark Segunas, a 3-run home run against Greg Holland, making his D-backs debut.
It's a hanging fastball that time. The Cubs have supplied all the offense in the ball game today. D-backs still looking to get on the board.
And this is where a lot of the starters check out and get to head home for the afternoon after they gotten their work in all morning and then had a few at bats in the afternoon. New pitcher, it's the return of the Mac, T.J. McFarland, the left-hander on for the Diamondbacks, and what a year he had last year. 47 appearances, an ERA right at 2. Evan Marzilli, the center fielder. Former D-back farmhand, there's his strike.
We were talking about McFarland earlier in the ballgame when Gracie was here about the ability to use him in a different role this year. What I like about him, a little bit like Brad Ziegler when he was a member of the Diamondbacks. If you have runners on base in the middle or latter part of the ball game, this is a double play machine. He's going to throw the ball, and it's going to probably be hit on the ground. And with the defense the Diamondbacks have behind him, a lot of those turned into double plays, and that's a very valuable weapon to have out of the bullpen.
47 relief appearances. He worked 72 innings. And as we mentioned before, initially he gave you some length back there, but more and more he was so effective that Torrey started using him as a matchup lefty and some shorter outings. Marzilli just by Corcuto at second base and into right field, a leadoff single. And TJ had to be shut down, you may recall, last September, had a bone spur in his left elbow, but was back throwing free and easy in his first bullpen sessions this spring. So far so good.
Hey, it's really interesting how you look for different things from different guys in spring training. Obviously, Ketel Marte learning a new position out in center field, so a lot of attention's being paid to every move that he makes. Some of the young pitchers, you want to put them in situations and see how they react. But for a guy like T.J. McFarland, it doesn't matter righty, lefty, middle of the game, end of the game. He's going to come in and pound that sinker down in the zone and get ground balls, and that's what you expect from him, and that's usually what you see from him. There's really not much to learn about T.J. McFarland in spring training, just getting himself ready physically to start the season.
And G.M. Brown took over at second. Rolls that into center. A pair of singles open up the Cubs' seventh. Well, that's the way TJ makes his money. Gets you ground balls. Sometimes they find holes. And here is Ryan Court, who took over at third base for Bodie. Court last season, AAA Iowa, 262, 11 home runs. Former D-back draftee out of Illinois State. Two on, nobody out.
A rare first pitch breaking ball that time from T.J. McFarland. Perhaps something he wants to work on in spring training. You hear that a lot at the end of a spring training game, especially if a guy's been whacked around a little bit. I was working on something. I was working on my splitter. I was working on my changeup, and in many cases that's true. Some cases it's an excuse. And it's an easy excuse to use in spring training because most guys are working on something, trying to refine a part of their game that maybe has been a weakness in the past. But you know, for TJ, showing that occasional breaking ball, especially a first pitch breaking ball, if he can roll it up there for a strike and jump ahead in the count, he really has the batter right where he wants him.
He's got Marzilli at second, Jim Browning at first. Nobody out. 1-2. Ryan Court, 23rd round pick by the Diamondbacks back in the 2011 draft out of Illinois State. 4 seasons in the D-backs minor league system, was released at the end of spring training in 2015. Played a year of independent ball, in fact. Got signed by the Red Sox, and now he's in the Cubs system.
Well, I'll tell you, the advent and success of independent ball has really turned out to be a lifeline for a lot of ball players. An opportunity to get on the field in front of some eyes, the scouts that show up at those games, and you know, we've seen numerous guys get plucked out of those independent leagues and find a job at the major league level.
Yeah, certainly David Peralta, the poster child for that. Ryan Court played a whole year for the Sioux City Explorers in the American Association and did well enough to get signed by the Red Sox. Spent 2 years in their system. 2017, he got as high as AAA Pawtucket, played all of last year at AAA at Iowa with the Cubs.
Bert, you said you had a chance to see Dalton Varsho play quite a bit in the Fall League a couple of years ago. This is my first look at him behind the plate. He's very smooth back there, easy movements. It's like everything is very easy, very instinctive.
A lot of people that are aboard the Dalton Varsho Express. He's got a lot of fans. He doesn't have the greatest throwing arm. It's average. It's fine. But he has got a really quick release. He makes up for it. He gets rid of the ball very quickly. And the question for him long term, does he stay at catcher? Does he think about left field? Is he a second baseman down the road? He's got a ton of athletic ability. Full count on Court, 3-2. High chopper to third. Crone is there, and they get at least one. Marzilli stops at third. At the force on Jimbroni. Karakuto covering second for the Diamondbacks.
That high chopper to third base, enough time had elapsed to allow that runner to get right on top of the second baseman right here. Clean slide right into the bag, made contact. There's no chance to turn that double play.
So one out there on the corners. They've got Marzilli at third. Court is the runner at first. Couple of former Diamondback minor leaguers aboard for the Cubs, and here's P.J. Higgins.
Right now is about the time TJ needs to dial up one of those ground balls. He's given up a couple of ground ball base hits in this inning that found holes in the Diamondbacks infield, but first and third, one out in the inning. Double play is just what the doctor ordered.
Lifted in the air to center field. Former Cub Matt Caesar out there. Marzilli's at third. Here he comes. And it's 5-0 Chicago. RBI for P.J. Higgins. Victor Caratini has spent all day behind the plate. He has singled 1 for 3 today. Sam Lewis warming up in the Diamondback bullpen, right-hander.
We're in the 7th inning of a 5-0 ball game in spring training, and the only people that have left the ballpark are the players that have come out of the game. Great crowd here at Salt River Fields today, and why not? An absolutely perfect day for baseball.
Our 9th season at this facility, which is absolutely the Taj Mahal of spring training. That one gets to the wall in left center. Ryan Butterfield waving Court home from third, and it's 6-zip. Second hit today for Victor Caratini, the Cub catcher.
Well, we've been talking about TJ McFarland being a ground ball machine. That appeared to be an off-speed pitch. It just kind of fluttered up there at the bottom of the strike zone, and Caratini finds that gap in left center field to tack on another run for the Cubs. 6-0.
Third base hit in the inning against T.J. McFarland. Zach Short, the shortstop.
Perfect.
Last year, Double-A Tennessee, 227. He's got some power, 17 homers. Third base, Crone can't handle it. Rolls into the third base coach's box. And Short is aboard. Caratini into third.
I think I might have hit him in the heel of the glove as he moves to his right there. Looked to be in pretty good position, just wasn't able to glove it successfully.
Torey Lovullo has seen enough. T.J. McFarland at 17 pitches. Sam Lewis, the right-hander, is ready in the bullpen. Torey will make the change right here. D-backs trail the Cubs 6-0. Back right after this. D-backs trailing the Cubs 6-0. As we continue in the top of the 7th inning, Steve Berthune, Bob Brenly along the way. Our thanks to Mark Grace for stopping by earlier. Here's the right-hander Sam Lewis. Last year his numbers in the Diamondback minor league system, 5-4 in ERA, just over 5.5, 17 appearances, 6 starts.
Nearly a strikeout per inning. Only gave up 4 home runs in his 48 innings of work combined between rookie ball and Double-A.
And he will face Jared Young, who took over at first base for Jim Adducci. 2 runs already in. Cubs have first and third, 2 outs. That's Victor Caratini and Zach Short. Diamondbacks back here tomorrow afternoon. Come on down to the ballpark. It'll be a great day to be here. 1:10 start against the Dodgers. This is hit deep to left field. Applin is at the wall, and that's over his head. Jared Young, second Cub home run today, a 3-run shot, and Chicago has scored 9 times.
Yeah, both home runs, 3-run jobs. That one blasted to the opposite field. Pitched down and away from him. He really had to go down and get that ball. Got a lot of backspin on it, and that easily carried out of here to the opposite field.
Over the head of Andrew Applin in left. So it's turned into a 5-run Chicago 7th. They take a 9-0 lead. And here is Winton Bernard. Took over in right field for Mark Zagunis. Zagunis had the other Cub home run back in the 4th. Tomorrow afternoon, 1:10 start here against the Dodgers. That'll be Matt Andriese against LA's Brock Stewart. Zach Greinke will start a B game over in Tempe against the Angels. Archie Bradley will pitch in that ball game as well. And Torey was telling us earlier today they've reached that point in spring training where the workload for the pitchers kind of bottlenecks, and they have to create games on backfields or B games across town or something to let everybody get their work in. And that's what they'll do with Greinke and Bradley tomorrow in Tempe.
And when you can, you'd like to keep the Dodgers' eyes off of the guys they're going to see during the regular season. Not that Zach Greinke has any surprises for the Dodgers, but you don't want to give them any more looks at your ace than you have to. I've told the story in the past when I was with the Toronto Blue Jays in spring training down in Dunedin in 1989. Jimmy Key never wanted to face an American League team in spring training. And I became his valet catcher in spring training, and when the Blue Jays would be playing at home in Dunedin, we'd get in Jimmy's car and, you know, drive to Clearwater on a backfield against the Phillies. Or we would go to Bradenton and pitch against the Pirates on a backfield against the minor leaguers. It was an interesting spring, to say the least. Didn't get in many of the big league games at the stadium, but I caught Jimmy Key an awful lot.
Well, that's how you got your number retired in Toronto. Out there to center. Matt Caesar has it. But the Cubs get 5. Diamondbacks down 9-0. Back at Salt River Field to Talking Stick. D-backs and Cubs set for the home half of the 7th inning. Fans, you can get the best tickets to the biggest games this year with a D-backs mini plan. You can choose from games against the Red Sox, these Cubs, Yankees, and Dodgers will both be in town. Get your tickets now, dbacks.com/mini plan. Duncan Robinson, the new pitcher for Chicago. Here is Kevin Crone, who took over at third, takes his strike. Numbers on Robinson last year. And AA and AAA for the Cubs. Crone is a guy who's been locked in as a first baseman in the Diamondback minor league system. Big power numbers, but he started to play a little bit more third base at the minor league level, and we're seeing him out there today. And Robinson strikes him out. 1 away. Here's Jazz Chisholm.
3 breaking balls that time from Robinson to Crone. The first one for a called strike at the top of the zone. The next 2 dropped off that outside corner, got swings.
Our first televised look at Jazz Chisholm, who has skyrocketed up the charts in the Diamondbacks minor league system. You see the numbers right there. That's part of the reason why. 25 home runs, 70 RBIs. He's only 21 years old. In fact, he just turned 21. He is a sensational defender at shortstop. Last year's Diamondbacks minor league player of the year. And he looks more and more, Bob, like he will be a big part of this organization's future. Last year started at Class A Kane County, finished at High A at Visalia. We had him in our booth last year. Very engaging, bright young guy, a lot of fun. Just every athletic tool you could hope for. Nice stop at short by Short, and they retire Chisholm.
Well, he's certainly got a big league name. That always helps when you got a major league ready name.
Jazzrado Hermes Arrington Chisholm, or Jazz. He is a native of Nassau in the Bahamas. 2 outs for Yasmani Tomas, who's in there at first.
And he's still a very young man. I mean, he's not a very big dude. He's listed at 5'11", 185. Does not look nearly that heavy, but you get the feeling he puts on a little bit more muscles and grows into his body. This is a guy that can do some serious damage moving forward.
Yeah, he's got some power to all fields, in fact. Well, a chance for Yasmani Tomas, and he knocks that one into right field. They're getting more and more looks at Tomas at first base in the search for what may be a right-handed bat at that position. If you want to sit Jake Lamb against some lefties, you've got obviously Christian Walker, who's a candidate to do that. Wilmer Flores could play first against lefties, and Tomas is auditioning for that role as well.
A little bit of a tardy swing that time on a pitch up in the zone, but got the barrel of the bat on it, able to punch it out there into right field for a 2-out knock.
That's one thing we know he's got, is power. Dalton Varsho. Varsho's numbers last year at Visalia: 286, 11 homers. He knocked in 44 runs. Another star in this minor league system. This will back up Hanneman, the new center fielder. It's over his head, and Tomas is on the run. Tony Perez-Chica down 9-0. He'll stop him at third. It's a double for Dalton Varsho, who continues to impress. This guy's a player.
Well, we talked about that ball that Jared Young was able to backspin to the opposite field. Dalton Varsho does the same thing here to center. Really fooled the Cubs center fielder. You saw him freeze in his tracks initially and then tried to catch up to that ball, but sails over the head of Hanneman all the way to the barrier, putting Diamondbacks at second and third with 2 outs.
For Wyatt Matheson, who's the hitter, signed by the D-backs to a minor league deal in November. Spent last year in the Pirates minor league system. 261, 10 homers in 90 games last year. That got him, says Alfonso Marquez, and the bases are loaded. So here's a chance for Yuniel Caracuto. Took over at second base for Wilmer Flores, a non-roster invitee. 11 career major league appearances on his resume, all with Tampa Bay back in 2016. Hit .337 in the Diamondbacks minor league system last year. Bases full of D-backs and 2 outs. You've got Tomas at third. Varsho is the runner at second, and Matheson at first. Yuniel Caracuto. AA Jackson, AAA Reno last year, and between the 2 stops hit .337. He started out at AA, tore up the Southern League. He hit almost .370 with Jackson before they moved him up to Reno. He went to Reno, played about 70 games there, and hit .315.
Now, last year in the minor leagues, didn't strike out very much, didn't walk very much. A guy that gets the bat on the ball, puts it in play.
Parts of 8 seasons in the minor leagues. That one's just foul behind Dave McKay at first. Caracuto, a switch hitter, bats from the left-hand side. Originally signed out of Venezuela by Tampa Bay back in '09. Spent a year at AAA Sacramento in the Giants system. Two balls and 1 strike. D-backs have been out hit 11-6. They trail at 9-0. Tied him up that time, and it's 2-2.
Caracuto, a baseball family, has a brother Juan that plays in the Mariners organization as an infielder, and his father Juan was an infielder for 5 seasons with the Blue Jays organization.
Center field, Hanneman out there. And the Diamondbacks leave them loaded. We've played 7. They trail it 9-0. Peaks our Gila River game summary. A couple of 3-run homers by the Cubs. Mark Zagunis in the 4th. And Jared Young in the 7th. 9-0 Cubs. Ravi Ray looked good in his start for the Diamondbacks. And as we start the 8th inning, time to have some fun on the berm.
Yeah, auditioning for a pinch runner role. What a day to roll around in the grass out there on the bank. Wow.
It's just great to see so many families out there, youngsters having a good time. A gorgeous Friday here in the Valley. Finally warmed up for us this week.
Safe.
Jimmy Sherfy will start the 8th inning for the Diamondbacks. 27-year-old right-hander. 15 appearances in the big leagues. He only works 16 1/3 innings. Spent most of the year at AAA Reno. Jarcer Burks, the left fielder, leads it off for the Cubs. Jimmy at AAA Reno last year. You see the numbers on Burks, AA Tennessee. Sherfy 45 innings at Reno, had 58 strikeouts. He's got that live fastball. That one is by Crone at third, down the left field line. Burks will head into second. Close play there, and he's in with a hustle double.
Ball just straight on the inner part of the plate right there. Looked like Sherfy wanted it away and down. Burks is able to pull it down into the corner. Nice play out there in the left field to make it close at second base. Had that throw been on line, they may have had a play on Burks.
Yeah, that is Andrew Applin out there. Always been a very good defensive outfielder, former ASU Sun Devil, here in a minor league contract. Refsnyder in right field. And they retire Hanneman, 1 down in the 8th. One of the things Torey Lovullo told us today about Jimmy Sherfy, they want to see him control the running game out there. That's a big point of emphasis for Jimmy Sherfy this year as Jim Brony steps in.
And that's a real fine line for me. Jimmy Sherfy, part of his effectiveness is the fact he's so slow and deliberate with his delivery, and then just explodes as he comes forward toward home plate. If you try to get him to speed that up too much, it may cause some issues with his arm angle and his release point. But with nobody on base, Jimmy is very deliberate with the leg raise and the turn toward home plate, and then drives that arm toward his target.
Ooh, doing a good job right there. Looking Burks back to the bag. No one home to throw to, but that was Torey's immediate response today. He wants to see Jimmy Sherfy control runners on the bases around him.
That's another thing you see a lot of in spring training that you rarely see during the regular season. I mean, these guys come out here in the morning and they do their stretching and their individual work, and then they'll break out and do some fundamentals. And one day of the fundamentals is pickoff attempts, whether it be first base, second base. It used to be first and third when you could do that move. And you see a lot of pickoff attempts at second base in spring training, and you might not see one all season during the regular year.
Missed with a breaker right there. Well, they obviously have liked Jimmy Sherfy. He was on the postseason roster a couple of years ago. Limited big league action last season. Had a good year at AAA Reno. 5-1. 15 saves. An ERA about 1.5. Put up high strikeout totals again. They like the fastball. They like the breaking ball. Just need a little bit more polish. Ryan Court, former D-back farmhand, the on-deck hitter. That's blistered toward Applin in left, and it's going to reach the wall. Burks will score the 10th Chicago run. And it's an RBI double. Trent Giambrone.
Another nice play by Applin out there in left field. This ball is scalded down the line. Applin was playing straight away. He's not even in your picture yet. He's going to run this down on a hop off the wall out there and fire a strike back into second base. What appeared to be a sure easy double turned into a close play once again at second.
Yeah, Andrew Applin is a guy they got from Seattle's minor league system. He played mostly at AAA Tacoma last year. He'll be 28 later this month, former ASU Sun Devil. There he is, part of the Reno roster right now. He has never played in the big leagues out of Fairfield, California. But they like the glove a lot. We've seen why. Here's Ryan Court. Jimmy Sherfy this year may end up as this year's version of Silvino Bracho, which means you're on the Reno shuttle because he has minor league options left. Bracho does not. So they'll need to make a decision on Bracho, and if they decide he's part of the big league club, that's all fine. If they decide not, they'll have to expose him to waivers, and then Sherfy might be the guy this year that keeps going back and forth when they need a bullpen arm.
That's a thing I don't think most casual baseball fans think about, the contractual situation that some of these guys have. If they're out of options, I mean, like you said, Silvino Bracho, you've got to keep him or risk losing him. But Jimmy Sherfy's a guy with options, so you can bring him up if you need to plug a hole because of an injury. Send him right back down to Reno, bring him back up again if you need him again. If you have a number of guys like that in your bullpen, it really makes it easier to maneuver your way through a season and consistently have healthy, strong arms in that bullpen.
2-2 on Ryan Court. Yeah, Yohan Lopez is another guy who may find himself in that situation this year. This is hit deep to right field. Backs up Refsnyder just shy of the warning track out there. Jim Brony will tag and head for third. Yeah, Lopez, who was just filthy in September last year. You think, well, why wouldn't you put him on the big league club straight away? Well, he's got options, so you've got some roster flexibility there with him if you'd rather start him off in the minor leagues and give a veteran another chance. P.J. Higgins now. He drove in a run with a fly ball in the 7th. D-backs back here tomorrow afternoon, a 1:10 start against the Dodgers. You can hear that game on 98.7 FM Arizona Sports. The Governor Greg Schulte and Tom Candiotti will be there, along with Leo Gilmartin, who's been given more organizational responsibility this year. Leo is now in a management position.
Wow.
Where he's got some added duties. He's got some clerical work he needs to brush up on. And we'll be organizing some different things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. He'll be basically our man behind the scenes. So we could all be in deep, deep trouble.
Well, we know how hard Leo works, and if you give him some added duties, not only will he do them effectively, but he'll probably establish a new bar for others to try to reach.
Or lower it.
Yeah.
Keeps trying to throw a strike with that breaking ball. Cubs keep laying off, and now it's 3-1.
I will say it's good to be back at the ballpark and see my staff once again. We really neglected to have a lot of meetings this winter, but
yeah, you're not one for meetings.
Nah. Good to see the staff back in place, working hard as ever.
Well, yeah, speaking of low bars. 3-2 is lifted in the air for Refsnyder in right field. Can he find it is the question. And there it is. Bottom 8 coming up. Diamondbacks trail the Cubs 10-0. Backside, they trail the Cubs 10-0 as we start the bottom of the 8th inning. Steve Berthiaume, Bob Brenly with you. Our first Fox Sports Arizona spring telecast of the season. And on the mound for the Cubs, left-hander Kyle Ryan will face Matt Caesar. Ryan's numbers last year, AAA Iowa. Matt Caesar took over in center for Ketel Marte. Caesar, originally a Chicago Cub draftee, spent last season in San Diego. Signed a minor league deal with the Diamondbacks in December, and he'll start us off in the home half of the 8th.
With Matt Caesar and Mark Zebchinski on the same roster, hey, you could win a lot of Scrabble games with those two guys.
We are leading the league in Z's. Actually, somebody on the Diamondback side gave Andrew Chafin and Zach Godley a camera and a microphone. And this is out there on social media. Chafin was the camera guy. Godley was the, using finger quotes, talent.
Okay.
This is shortstop for short. And Godley and Chafin walked around trying to get Diamondback players to spell Zebchinski, and you can see that out on the WWW with the social medias. It's on Twitter. It's actually a funny bit. Nobody even came close, frankly. But it's those two guys were clowning around the other day. Had a lot of fun.
Hard to believe those two guys were clowning.
Yeah, shocking. In fact, we're going to take a look at the end of this half inning at Andrew Chafin and Zach Godley. Worse than giving them a camera and a microphone, somebody gave them a race car.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so we'll check that out in just a moment here. Here is Andrew Applin. We talked about his defense in left field. Former ASU Sun Devil. 5th round pick out of Tempe by the Astros back in 2012. Very good defensive outfielder, has not hit much. Last year, AAA Tacoma in the Seattle system hit .247 with 5 homers. Third base, backhand stop by Court, and a nice scoop at first by Young. Another guy in camp with the Diamondbacks this spring, Rob Refsnyder, former Yankee and former U of A product. 5th rounder out of Tucson in 2012. Played on that College World Series team. Spent last year with Tampa Bay. 40 games with the Rays last year, hit .167. Refsnyder over the last 4 years has spent big league time with the Yankees, the Blue Jays, and the Rays. Broke into the majors with the Yankees back in 2015. Signed as a free agent with the Diamondbacks in November. He can play some second base. He can play the outfield. One more time for Zach Short at short. Well, we mentioned, how about Andrew Chafin and Zach Godley? They're going racing. Here's a look.
I'm waiting to go fast.
We're here for the NASCAR racing experience. Basically just throw anybody in a race car, come out here and give her hell. How's it fit? Snug. These race suits are just cozy.
I'd get pockets for mine.
Pockets.
I'm so excited. How fast do you think you're gonna go?
Simple enough, anybody can do it.
They tried to put me in a car that was too small for me to go. Hey. Nope. Hey, yeah.
It's the same car I drove, bud.
Well, I mean, you're smaller than me.
Ladies and gentlemen, I believe they are breaking out the Sawzall to get them in this car. Yeah, that's pretty funny. It's a tight fit. Each car is customized, like how tall each individual is and stuff. And they tried to force them in a car that wasn't built for them. Hey, we got a winner. You finally fit in one. I got sore in the 5 laps I took.
The fact that they can do that for that long, yeah, that's true.
I want to go on that one. That one looks fast.
Well, I can tell you 2 guys who won't be driving bullpen carts this year. Race fans, get up close and personal Sunday, March 10th by entering to win a VIP Fox Sports Arizona experience at ISM Raceway. For the Ticket Guardian 500, it includes tickets, pace car rides, exclusive area access, and a tour of the NASCAR garage for you and your friends. To enter, visit ismraceway.com/FoxSportsAZ. Contest ends Sunday, March 3rd.
That's actually pretty cool. And now we know why both those guys drive big pick-em-up trucks, so they can climb into them. They don't have to put Vaseline on their helmet and slide them into the car.
Stephon Crichton, the new pitcher for the Diamondbacks. He'll start the 9th inning. They trail the Cubs 10-0. Crichton, acquired from the Orioles last April, was released in June. He's back this spring as a non-roster invitee. Ian Rice is the hitter. They are quickly becoming America's favorite comedy team. There's Laurel and Hardy and Burns and Allen and the whole thing, and there's Chafin and Godley.
Two wild and crazy guys. I think of who else? Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis.
Lady! There is a sort of a Larry the Cable Guy vibe about
very much so.
their routine, but it works. They are funny. Crone at third, nice high hop. And Tomas can corral that one. Rice is aboard. Took over behind the plate for Caratini.
Crone very deliberate, waiting on that high hopper, gets up on top, fires across the diamond. Looked like Tomas either just flat missed that ball, or in his attempt to reach back into the runner, he just didn't catch that one.
Well, two guys in a sense playing out of position. Crone is usually a first baseman. Tomas has been an outfielder. Zach Short. That one hit him right in the armor. So a couple of Cub base runners start the ninth. And here's Young, who homered back in the seventh, a 3-run shot. Jared Young, left-hand batter. Stephon Crichton spent last year pitching for the Diamondbacks AAA team in Reno. You saw the numbers earlier, 14 appearances, all in relief. The ERA was over 10. He only threw 16 innings, was released in June, but is back this year. Prior to that, he spent 5 years in the Orioles minor league system. Pitched collegiately at TCU. He's from Katy, Texas.
Shadows sneaking up on home plate, right down that first base line.
Yeah, once you get to about 4 o'clock, it's one of the great things about the architecture of this facility. They designed it and they laid out the field so you'd have the stunning view of the mountains out towards center, really all around the outfield. But the shade from the seats, based on where the sun is this time of year, will not encroach onto the field until you're 3 hours into the game. And they actually thought of that, which is amazing. And you can see right there, we're 3 hours in just about, and the shadow is at the first base line.
Which is good for the players. They can still see the ball. It's also good for the fans sitting in the shade.
Sky to first. Tomas is out there. Infield fly is called if it stays fair. Hirakuto takes it, and there's the out. Most times when you build a facility like this, you have to dig down. But for this facility, they actually raised it when they lay the infield down, and they raised it up with some dirt so you'd get these terrific views of the mountains out behind the outfield. Winton Bernard, the hitter. Another game here tomorrow, 1 o'clock start for the Dodgers. That's Matt Andreessen, Brock Stewart. Zach Greinke will throw a B game in Tempe against the Angels tomorrow. And then Sunday, the D-backs are in Peoria to face the Mariners. Zach Godley will start that one. And then we're back home here Monday against the new look Cincinnati Reds, who made a lot of noise in the offseason, now with Matt Kemp and Yasiel Puig. So that's what's coming up on the schedule.
One thing I think they could do to improve Salt River Fields, we've all seen Wrigley with the vines growing on the outfield wall. Why not plant the cactus on the warning track? That would really make it a much more interesting game.
Crone at third, steps on the bag, and once again it gets away from Tomas at first. Or did it hit the runner? I think it may have hit Bernard there. That shadow is right almost on the bag. So Short is now in at third and Bernard's at second. And Burks is the hitter. I tell you, Cactus, that's next level thinking.
Go get it. Yeah.
Instead of IV, just put some cacti out there. You will play a ball off the wall at your own risk.
Let's see somebody crash up against that making a catch.
What may happen is if an outfielder tried to make one of those home run robbing catches and jumped high off the ground trying to get his glove over the fence, he might stick to the wall like Spider-Man.
Yeah. That would be fun.
They'd have to pull him off one of the cacti out there. Applin in left field, drifting over toward left center. And we'll head to the home half of the ninth inning, down 10-0. Home half of the ninth inning in Scottsdale. D-backs have been out hit by the Cubs 12-6. They trail it 10-0. A couple of 3-run home runs for Chicago has helped to pad that 10-0 lead. And here's Rob Scahill on to work the ninth.
Gotta go. Need a bunch of base runners.
Yeah, a lot.
A lot.
Kevin Crone will start us off, the big third baseman out of Mountain Point High School. Kevin played his first full season at AAA last year and did really well at Reno. Hit .309, 22 homers. He knocked in 97 runs. Was a strikeout victim to lead off the seventh, and he starts us off here in the ninth. This one is blasted deep to center. Say goodbye. Kevin Crone gets him on the board. There's one for Mountain Point.
There you go.
He has got serious power. Southern League MVP a couple of years ago at Jackson. 22 homers last year at Reno.
I was just thinking as I was watching Kevin Crone climb into that right-handed batter's box, physically and his game reminds you a little of Mark Trumbo. Massive, massive power when he makes solid contact.
6'5", 245. He's a big dude.
Just to the left of the batter's eye out there in straightaway center field.
First D-back run, the Crone homer, and here's Jazz Chisholm. Of course, Kevin's dad, Chris, has been a Diamondback minor league hitting coordinator. He'll be the manager this year at AAA Reno. So he may be playing for his dad this year.
We'll have to ask Kevin, but if indeed he does end up playing for his father in Reno, I'm sure he's probably played for his dad other places when he was younger. Travel ball or Little League or whatever the case may be. We'll have to ask Kevin and Chris.
And hard to second. That one gets through Jimbroni out there. Jazz Chisholm's aboard. So a good start here to the Diamondback nine.
Those are tough plays, not to make excuses, but those ankle-biting, sinking line drives, you're not sure if you can quite catch it in the air. Should I play it on a hop? The ball was hit extremely hard by Chisholm. That one got right through into right field. I believe that'll be ruled a base hit.
No, it's up to Yasmani Tomas to keep this going. He got a base hit in the seventh inning. Yasmani is here in camp as a non-roster player. He is not currently listed on the 40-man. His previous D-backs uniform number 24, that now belongs to Luke Weaver. Tomas is in there at number 26. They really want to see Yasmani, and we've heard this for years now, but they've emphasized it again this spring. Be patient up there, have a good approach, grind out some at bats, control the strike zone. Because this is a guy you almost forget who has a 30 home run season in the major leagues in his back pocket. He's got tremendous power. Last year spent all season at AAA Reno. At 262, 14 home runs there. But struggled to get on base consistently. The on base percentage was under 300.
Yeah, the idea of controlling the strike zone, I think that's a real key for Yasmani. Even the 30 homer year he had at the major league level, there were times it was almost like his at bat was scripted. I'm going to swing at the first pitch and the fourth pitch, and I'm going to take the 2 pitches in between. And he might swing at 2 pitches in the dirt in the left-handed batter's box and take 2 right down the middle. It just didn't seem like he was seeing pitches, recognizing, and then determining whether he wanted to swing or not.
Chop to third for Court. Chisholm moves up, high throw. Young is able to keep his foot on the bag. And Jazz is in at second, 1 out. Another at bat here for Dalton Varsho. They list Varsho at 5'10", 190. He's 22 years old. He'll be 23 in July. One of the hot prospects in their minor league system. One thing they like about Varsho, it's a nice, quick, compact swing. This is a guy who consistently barrels up the baseball. He had a double to deep center in the 7th. Second round pick by the D-backs 2 years ago out of Wisconsin, Milwaukee.
They doubled in his last at bat in the 7th inning. There's a lot of room in that left center field gap with the left fielder playing him very shallow.
Shoots it out toward Burks in left field. Dalton Varsho sends one off the wall. Chisholm will score. Varsho has his second double today, and it's 10-2.
We talked about that short, compact swing. Gets a pitch out over the plate. A lot of risks at the very end of that swing. Gets backspin once again. Narrowly missed hitting that ball out of here. Hit about halfway up the fence. RBI double for Dalton Varsho.
Yeah, this is a young man who's coming. He's on the way. Nice glimpse of the future there with Jazz Chisholm, Dalton Varsho. Wyatt Matheson now. Hit by a pitch his first time.
I think really the only question is, when is that future?
Well, they both figure to start this year at Double-A, and then, yeah, all bets are off at that point.
And a lot of that could be determined by the success or lack of success at the major league level. You know, if the Diamondbacks are playing well and competing in the National League West, these guys may be forced to bide their time and wait their turn. If the Diamondbacks would happen to struggle and fall out of contention in the West, it's not out of the question that you might see some of those guys get a taste of the big leagues this year.
One of the things about Varsho that you like too, he's kind of got that gym rat, dirt dog vibe going about him.
He got that from his daddy.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, Gary was the same way.
Yeah, he's a gamer. Two-one misses. I came out to fall league games and Varsho was batting leadoff a bunch of times.
Wow.
Yeah, I've seen him bunt for base hits. I've seen him hit home runs. Really good athlete.
Love those catchers leading off. That should happen more often.
Well, maybe we can get that into the next CBA. Full count, 3-2. Karakuto, the on-deck hitter. Still some youngsters out there having some fun.
The young man didn't seem to be enjoying that so much, but the day will come when he would love to have girls chasing him around.
Run away. That never worked for me. They just let me keep running.
Yeah, just keep running.
Yeah, you can go.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Atomic wedgie. 3-2. He just missed. Matheson works a walk. Well, you wanted some base runners. You got them. 2 runs in, 2 on, still only 1 out. And we'll get a mound visit here as Karakuto steps in.
I got to tell you, seeing the late rally here today, a couple of runs in the 9th inning, still trailing by 8 in the ball game, but back in my managerial days down in Tucson, I can remember spring training games where you'd look to the bench and the young kids I had were Dan Ugla, Connor Jackson, and Carlos Quentin.
Whatever happened to those guys?
Yeah, I don't know. But you want to talk about some comebacks late in the spring training game.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Bus is already warming up. What are you doing?
Make them sit there for 2.5 hours and then tell them, hey, go up there and do something. Go show me something. And they always did.
Oh, a chance here for UNEL. Karakuto. D-backs now with 9 hits after the Varsho RBI double. He's at second, Matheson at first. Our next Fox Sports Arizona TV game is Wednesday, 1 o'clock against the Brewers in Maryvale. We'll enjoy Brian Anderson and the rock on that one as this one flies out to right field. Varsho with that speed hustling into third. Bob and I will be back Thursday here against Cleveland. I can't believe they got BA to work.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, that's
apparently no golf tournaments or volleyball games or football or any other sport. So
check the fine print.
Yeah.
That's Caesar. He's busy. Rock always shows up. You can always count on Rock.
That's why they call him Rock.
Yeah, there you go. 2 on and 2 out. 10-2 here in the 9th. Caesar is one of these guys who can provide some center field depth with Martain learning the position. Dyson hurt right now with a minor oblique problem. Caesar's played a lot of center field, still has very good speed. Former Cub and Padre out of Villanova, where he was a terrific football player.
Yeah.
Wide receiver. Third base. Ford has that one. They get the force on Matheson. And that'll do it. 10-2 is the final here. D-backs drop just their second Cactus League game so far.
Well, we hate the loss, but we like the fact we were back at the ballpark calling baseball action again. Love this time of year.
So 10-2 is the final. Thanks to all of you joining us on Fox Sports Arizona for D-backs Cactus League Baseball. We are back with you Thursday here against Cleveland. Next TV game is Wednesday. We'll have the Brewers feed for you on Fox Sports Arizona from Maryvale. That's a 1 o'clock game on Wednesday. Our thanks to Gracie. For Bob Brenly, I'm Steve Berthoud. We'll see you D-backs Baseball on Fox Sports Arizona.